Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
Hello, how do you do? We are the boys in white and blue, and we're back with another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful and very wet, and in some places snowy, British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall.
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenarm.
How was the weather for you the last couple of days, Zach? Did you get snow out in the sticks?
Did we get snow? Of course we did.
We got none here.
Really?
Not even chubby rain.
Oh.
It was weird, because then I saw in the news all this snow that had fallen, and I saw like the pitches were getting covered all over the place from youth teams, games were cancelled, and I was like, well, I hope everyone stayed safe anyway. And if you're chilly in these conditions, we will warm you up with another wonderful couple of hours of football chat here on the podcast. We're going to be talking Whitecaps. We're going to be talking Major League Soccer. We're going to be talking the Canadian women's national team, the goodbye to the GOAT. A lot of other fun things thrown in. We'll have 3 more songs from our Festive 15 from 2023. All that is to come. Before we get to that, how has your week been, Zach?
I was going to say it was a pretty busy week of work. And then I'm like, I took off like half the week.
I was going to say, I thought you were off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
No, not Wednesday. I took off half the week. I took off Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. To get ready for the farewell match. So no, it's been a busy football week. And then of course I was in Victoria last weekend for the.
Oh, of course, yeah.
For that one, so it was like 5 days of nonstop football stuff. So it was a great week in many ways. And
it's a busy month for you in general.
It is, yes. Yeah, I was tonight. We had some gatherings going on. One during the day and then one this evening. That was they're really fun and enjoyable. But my biggest letdown of my week is I did not get to hang out with you and Felipe.
Yes, I was going to say you missed the AFTN Christmas party sponsored by Vancouver FC. It was very nice of them to do that.
I was, as you would say, I was out filling the sack with presents for my children and my family.
When you told me you were in South Delta, I was like, yeah, you're not getting to where we are by 3:30.
Traffic was an issue. There was one other issue, but I'll tell you about that one later. There was one other small issue.
Well, hopefully you got my present, so that's the main thing. Actually, laugh makes me feel no.
You sent me a present?
No, your present is here and all wrapped for once.
See, yours is not this year.
That's going to make our Christmas unwrapping fun.
Yeah. Well, we
just take your clothes
off. We never do
instead.
It on Christmas, do we? It's been like
I thought this year we would. But we don't have Steve. There's only 2 of us to kind of like herd together.
We do have Steve.
Well, yeah, he isn't dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
People have been asking where Steve is. He's just been taking a bit of time off, some personal time this year. We spoke to him a couple of weeks ago. He might make some sporadic appearances in 2024. We'll see how things go.
Yeah, hopefully more than sporadic. But yeah, it was really good to talk to him. And
he just wanted a bit of a break from social media, from podcasts, football.
I think people are listening to this, Michael, and they'll be like, I could understand how someone would want to break from the two of you.
Yeah, Caitlin tells me that all the time. Back to Christmas stuff. I never asked you this last week. Like, I love advent calendars. Went a little bit nuts last year. I had a couple of chocolate ones. I had a jam one, a cheese one. What else did we have? We had a coffee one. So I've reined it in a bit this year, and we've just got 4. And only 3 of them are food. So we've got 2 chocolate ones, good quality chocolate one, and an after 8 one, because to me, after 8 is Christmas, that and a Terry's chocolate orange.
I always say it's always after 8 sometime, whether it's after 8 in the morning or 8 p.m.
Exactly. You can eat it whenever you want.
That's right.
I've got a nice hot chocolate advent calendar that I got from England this year with actual proper chocolate nibs and stuff. It's very, very good. 24 different flavours as well. It might put me off indulging in the hot chocolate festival a little bit in January. I might be over my hot chocolate stuff by that point. And we also got a jigsaw advent calendar this year.
What? So every day you get a piece of the puzzle?
Yep, 42 pieces every day over the 24 days, and you build this big jigsaw. It's awesome. We're really, really enjoying it.
I enjoy puzzles, as you know, so that'd be kind of, I haven't done one forever, but that'd be kind of cool.
Well, we hadn't done jigsaws for ages, and then we went down to Oregon September, and the place that we booked was meant to have a TV. Well, they did have a TV, but they didn't have cable. So they had tons of puzzles, so we ended up just doing loads of puzzles there and finding that lots of their puzzles were missing pieces. Which
Isn't that one of the most frustrating things in the world?
It is, but it won't be for the other folk, as I scrolled over the box, missing 2 pieces and circled the pieces that were missing.
You're so helpful.
Helpful or annoyed. But we also got some money back because we were meant to have cable TV as well, and I complained. So
well, and did you say, what about the missing pieces?
No, I should have done that. But yeah, do you have any advent calendars for this year?
Usually we do 4 Lego advent calendars.
Oh,
but this year we haven't because
I did look at the Lego ones in the past.
The Star Wars, Marvel. This year we were at Star Wars, Marvel, and Liza wanted the Friends one because there's some animals in it that she wanted. But we actually haven't gotten any of them yet. I still might get some of them. I have the kids have chocolate ones. They're not good chocolate. They're just like whatever normal milk chocolate. They're not fancy like you. I have a special advent calendar. I haven't started yet because I think it's only got 12, so I've just left it. I think I've started this week. It's do you remember the game I got you last year, that wrestling game?
Yeah.
It's for that game, and it's a Marvel version. It's a Guardians of the Galaxy advent calendar.
Oh, interesting. I've seen a lot of like 12-day ones. That's like
it's
12
annoying.
days of socks. That's like 24. Come on.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, you used to get 25.
I
used to get something on Christmas Day, which the one that we've got for Annie, our dog, it has 25, so she's going to get a nice treat on Christmas Day.
I still might go and maybe try and find one if I still can. Cheryl used to get this for her dad every year, is the jam one.
Yes, we got that one last year, the Bon Marché.
I don't know if it's that company, but there was a jam.
It was really good.
Yeah.
But by the end of the 25 days, it's like, I don't want any more jam. It's like, what's your favourite jam? Don't mention jam!
Well, that's the thing, though. If you have too much jam, you don't have to have it every day. You can just be like, oh, I got blueberry today. I'm going to keep that for when I'm craving blueberry, no? You were like, you had to eat it every day?
Interesting plan. No, we did.
It's called like self-control or something?
No, we did. If you want to talk about self-control, Cadbury's have an Advent dairy milk bar where you're only meant to have 1 square of the dairy milk a day.
Yeah, that sounds
crazy. I do not see me doing that, so I've never bought that one.
Yeah.
But let us know if you've got any, because I know you get beer ones and cider ones. And
I've seen those,
Yeah, I mean, I'd looked for a Dickens cider, but I couldn't get one of those for like 24 days. I'm old now as well. I don't think I've got the stamina for that, to be honest. But if you've got any interesting advent calendars that you've got, let us know.
How did I know you were going to take it there? my friend Newton just subscribed to the podcast on Spotify today.
Oh, so he'll be unsubscribing now.
I just say, Newton, if you're listening to this, I'm so sorry.
Does he have a 24-day fig advent calendar? Or does an apple fall on his head every day?
No.
That'd be an interesting one. Let's move away from advent calendar talk So it is a week of parties, not just the AFTN Christmas party. It's a big party as we celebrate Vancouver Whitecaps' 50th anniversary. It's their golden jubilee, December 11th, 1973. The Whitecaps were born. Look how they have grown. It's a historic anniversary year coming up for the Whitecaps. Next year it'll be the 50th year since that first NASL season. But a hotel on Davy Street in Vancouver, December 11th, 1973, Denny Veach and Herb Capozzi addressed a packed room to announce that they were bringing an NASL side back to Vancouver. The last team had been in 1968 in the North American Soccer League, the Vancouver Royals, and it was coming back to Vancouver. They had 145 days to get everything ready, get a coach, get a place to play, get offices. They did it. The season kicked off. The rest is history. We will be celebrating the Whitecaps' 50th anniversary season all of next year in 2024. I'll give you a few precursors of things that you can look forward to during that time as well. But we're going to do a musical thing like we did for 1979, where every week we're going to play a song from that week in 1974. I'm going to get some interviews with some of the people from 1974 that are still around. We'll be running a lot of things on the website as well. I've got the very first programme as well that was issued for the Whitecaps' first game back in May 74. And if you check aftn.ca right now, we have got an article up there celebrating the 50th anniversary of that announcement. And it's going to be a fun year ahead. And hopefully the Whitecaps do a lot to honour that anniversary as well. I'm pretty sure they will. And talking about parties, it's been party time for Columbus as well. What a result for Columbus. 6-1 against Coquitlam Metroford in the VMLS Premier on Friday night. And I went to Burnaby Lake to film that game. And because our Christmas party had overrun slightly and I got stuck in traffic coming home, I missed the first couple of minutes of the game.
How many goals?
Well, I got there and I saw good friend Patty Isaac, former Whitecap, love Patty, scoring a beautiful goal from about 25 yards out, chipping the keeper, and I was like, oh, wish I'd got that on video. Walked past this lady that was sitting in the bleachers, went, that's 1-0, I take it. And she's like, no, it's 2. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, we haven't even played 5 minutes yet. I was like, wow. Walked up to the bleachers, put my bag down, bent over, unzipped it, got my camera out. Third goal goes in. I was like, what is going on here?
Okay, I know you posted a bunch of games recently. Does that mean you didn't post that? Because
I did not get any of the first 3 goals. I thought, I'll get whatever there is left. Bent down to get a drink as goal number 4 went in during the first half. And I thought, you know what? I won't bother filming this game.
I'm just going to watch this.
I'll just watch the first half. There's another game starting in a few minutes on the other pitch, so I went and filmed that one instead, which finished as a 4-1 win for Reno's Tigers. And a lot of Altitude FC guys playing for Reno's. And my tip for next year is watch Altitude, because some of these guys are on fire in VMSL right now.
I need to get out to watch an Altitude game. It's on my list. It's on my list of things to do in 2024.
It's a beautiful place to watch the games. They're going to have a good team this year.
Are you doing all their games?
Hopefully. It all depends what direction now the league takes, because Dino Rossi, big news this week, has decided to move away from his job at League One. I'd spoken to him the week before, trying to get him on the pod. He says, let's wait to January. Now I know why.
Yeah.
Hopefully he can still come on and talk to us, but...
Yeah, are you taking over League One Canada? Or what are you...
They are looking for a GM just now, and it's open for applications.
Have you submitted? Or?
Well, you'd be based in Toronto. If it was based here, I'd be all over that.
Oh, you don't want to move for that?
No, it'd be amazing. I don't think I'm fully qualified. My direction of where I would like the league to go, like admitting East Fife into it, for one thing, I think it might be frowned upon, and the away trips could bankrupt some of the teams, but we'll see. But no, it was party time in Columbus because yellow swag, yellow boots.
Yeah, please don't finish this, please. Please.
Sean Barnes will be happy.
This is not our last show, is it?
No, I don't see what's wrong with playing that song in full. I haven't written the song.
It makes me uncomfortable. If it's a song, if I remember the song correctly, it makes me uncomfortable.
Let's move on. Sean Barnes, Columbus Crew, check the song out. Not suitable for work is what we're probably saying. But yeah, the 2023 MLS champs have been crowned. Columbus Crew beat defending champions LAFC 2-1 to win their third MLS championship. They deserved it too. The better team. LAFC looked out of sorts in that first half. Certainly made a game of it in the second half. It was a very entertaining second half, I thought. But the Crew deserved that one, Zach.
It was hard in one sense because last year's final was so incredible. It was, the best ever last year. So when you're coming up against that,
just to clarify as well, that's not because you like Max Crepeau. That's not why you felt it was the best final ever.
No, I'm talking about the football.
Yeah, okay, just check.
Oh yeah. So it's always hard when you're having to follow up and act like that or whatever. But yeah, I thought it was really good. I couldn't watch the game live, but it was on this little known station, TSN.
Tossin.
Oh yeah, Tossin. So I PVR'd it and I watched it on there later.
That's nice that they're jumping on the football bandwagon this week.
Yeah, it seems this week they've been paying to show football. It's kind of nice. So it was nice to watch it on the PVR. It's always a little bit easier in my opinion.
Yes, it is.
I can fast forward Garber, all that kind of stuff.
I didn't watch him live, but I watched at the end. I was very curious if he was going to say anything different to his State of the League stuff. But
yeah, I still have it on the PVR. But no, as I was watching it, and I remember the first half hour, like before the first major incident, I guess, of the game. I was just like, wow, like Columbus is really taking this to them, like even more so than I thought they would or could as the home team. That was just like they are really controlling this match and really have LAFC, who has an extremely quality side and a number of weapons. They're really dominating them, and I was a little bit surprised. I didn't think like LAFC was going to go in there and like it was going to be a cakewalk or anything like that, but I thought the match was going to be a little bit more back and forth, a little bit more balanced, a little bit more kind of opportunities, like spells here, spells there, spells going this way, spells going that way, and it was not like that in the opening half hour.
Although I did predict the Crew to win 2-1 in last week's show. I would give myself a pat on the back, but I have actually trapped a nerve in my shoulder blade and I can't get round to pat myself in the back.
Oh,
I've been sleeping really weirdly, my neck and my shoulder when I woke up this morning. I don't know what I've done to it. But yeah, the Crew just took the game. They clearly wanted that early goal. Cucho got it in the 33rd. Yeboah 4 minutes later. The fans, jubilant mood. It was great to see. It's a fan base that's obviously been through a lot. And it's nice to see. It's also nice to see like one of the OGs still doing it in the league and not just all these up-and-comers.
Was that number 4 for them? Or number 3?
No, it's the third MLS Cup, yeah.
So I remember all 3 of theirs now then. Okay, yeah. I
mean, they had their chances to put it to bed as well.
Yes, they did.
Bisanga made it interesting for LA in the 74th. But, I mean, they deserved it from start to finish. When LA got that equaliser, though, I did think, they're going to go and... Or not the equaliser, when they made it 2-1, I thought they're going to go on and get the equaliser. And extra time was looming because it felt like Columbus was getting really nervous at that point.
Yeah.
And I thought, are LA going to do to Columbus what Columbus just did the week before to Cincinnati? But no, I mean, they held on. You saw the scenes at the end, what it meant to everyone. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was good. I know you were joking before. I very much like Maxime Kripo. As
No,
much as
I do as well, as we have mentioned on the show.
as much as he was a kid growing up in Montreal who was, hung out with UMO too, and you know, I've cheered against him lots over the years. No, he is a great story of Canadian football. I know obviously people locally in Vancouver still have frustration over how he departed the club, and that's totally valid. But last year, I mean, he played a massive role in living out what he was the reason why he left Vancouver, and was helped them win that game. Obviously, the McCarty came in and played a massive role.
Yeah, I mean, he was excellent, and he had a good start to the year, and then Max has come back.
No, but yeah, to see Max
from him a few weeks back, and he talked about his journey.
Yeah, and get to the level again, I think is incredible. And if you love Canada and want to see the Canadian men's national team try and regain that 2022 World Cup qualifying form,
yeah, you need him to be in good form.
I think Maxime Crépeau is hopefully a step towards that as being the starting keeper for Canada. And I know for some people it's very easy to differentiate club football and national football, and for others it's more difficult. And I do get I genuinely do get the hate. I know we've spoke about Max a lot on the show, and I get why Whitecaps fans hate him. It just left a horrible taste in the mouth, the way that he left, and then subsequent things that came out. Talking of another Canadian, though, that did lift the MLS Cup, Mo Farsi. Another great story.
Like third week in a row we've been speaking about Mo, but got the start again over Gressel. I really thought Gressel would start after the Cincinnati game.
Exactly, after he contributed so much.
Yeah, the fact that he didn't, I think, says everything now.
Yeah, well, he was gone anyway. They knew he was gone.
Yeah.
But now
But that was a bit ballsy by Nancy to do that. But I've seen lots of stuff floating about. Has Farsi played himself to be a starter for the national team going forward? I think he's not quite at that yet as a regular starter. But
I don't know about starter, but getting in there,
definitely in the mix.
Yeah, which is great. They need that.
Yeah,
and they need that, I think, in that position.
And then the non-seed chatter, as we talked about last week, to take over the national team is sparked up again. I don't know that he would want to go and do that at this stage of his career. His stock is so high.
Yeah.
Like, he could go over to Europe, he could stay with the crew and see what he can do with them.
I don't know him well, but I can't see him saying, "Oh, that's what I want to do next." I think there's one thing we need to mention here, Michael. Is I don't think I'd ever thought that I would see a side win the MLS Cup with a Rudy Camacho in their ranks.
Yes. Do you know, I was watching the game and he made a good play, and I was like, all the jokes we've made about Rudy Camacho, he has shown what a good player
he's worth,
he is with Columbus.
Well, again, I think it's not just him. I think it's having a Nancy who knows him, and knows how to best utilize him to get the most out of him, to maybe limit some of his liabilities. So hats off to Nancy for that. Hats off to Rudy for playing a significant role in Columbus this season. And yeah, I couldn't not mention it because I was watching the game. I was watching the game and I saw him. I was just like. I was like, oh yeah, come on.
Yeah. I want to give a hat tip to the referee, Armando Villarreal. I thought he did a decent job. Got some very good calls. Started the second half, there was that tackle by Vela, and he let the play go on, which nearly led to the third goal, which would have put the game to bed. Now, a lot of refs would have stopped it there and then. When I first saw it, I thought, well, that's going to be a red for Vela. But when I see it back, it's like, nah, it was a yellow. And we'll talk about Vela in a sec. There was some good calls on non-penalties as well. A couple of little things slipped by, which is kind of happens for every referee. I mean, arguably a penalty for Columbus, I felt, in stoppage time. But if it was my team, I'd be screaming for it. If I was the opposition, I'd be like, no. I'd be a soft one. But
yeah. And I think aside from this not being like a game that was in like New York City or Miami or whatever, I also think this is really great there's some real great stories to tell about this for the league. Like you already said, it's one of the original teams. It's a team that was dying. It was going to die. It was like dead man walking, right? Like its time was up. It got saved. New ownership comes in, does amazing things. Obviously, they won 2 cups in the last few years, or whatever.
And let's also point out as well how much impact the fans rallying did as well.
Totally.
Not just saved; it's like the fans saved their team.
Exactly, and a part of the saving of the team and the long-term plan was to build this new stadium. Talking to Kirk, I was like, Kirk, what do you think of this stadium? He's like, oh, looks, this is nice, or that's, this is different, whatever. I was like, Kirk, do you know that Columbus, Ohio, Kirk, was the home to the first soccer-specific stadium in the United States back when MLS launched in 1996, coming out of the 94 World Cup? He's like, no, Dad, I didn't know that. And he said, stop calling it soccer. But he's like, oh no. He's like, I was like, yeah, it was like the stadium. It was way out in the middle of nowhere. I said it was a little bit like where we go to watch football now, where there's no roof. It's a little bit out in the suburbs.
Except the Vancouver FC scoreboard hasn't caught fire.
Yes, not yet. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, still time.
But no, I was just like, so they built this nice stadium. The location, I think, I don't know the geography super well, but I think the location is better. But it has a roof, and it's
another one of those enclosed stadiums where you're right on the pitch that
exactly.
I love. And it's another. I was watching it as well, and I was like, to have that here. I also liked as well, like. It was just over 22,000. So it's an intimate stadium as well. And it's kind of nice that you've got that. Yeah, they could have sold it out probably 2-3 times over. I don't know if you saw the stuff during the week. A code had been gone out to Columbus Crew season ticket holders. And it had been compromised and put out, and it was getting shared by LAFC fans so they could buy tickets and stuff. So they had to cancel all the orders and then redo it and stuff.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, because the LA fans would just want to get there in numbers. Well,
they
the ones that could do stuff, which we'll come to in a second.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, there's so many good stories. Patrick Schulte, 22-year-old goalkeeper, a year ago lifting the MLS Next Pro Championship. And there's a few guys like Mo Farsi didn't play in the final, but he was on that team last year, and Russell Rowe as well. That was another one, and they've done so much and they've built so much, and it was just a great story all round.
And let's talk about one of the great moments that everyone can agree on. That was just nice.
I'm gonna guess Don Garber getting booed out of the building.
I think so. Like who didn't enjoy that?
It was so loud. I mean, full marks in a way to Garber in that he kept going with what he was saying and wasn't put off.
Yeah, and he's a pro. He's a pro at that.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I'm sure he used it by now, but they were unrelenting and very much deserved. And it was fantastic.
Yeah, that was quite nice.
Talking to Garber, we'll be speaking in part 3 about his State of the League address and the main things that kind of came out of that. One thing I don't like that they do here in North America is they give the trophy to the owner and then hand it to the captain.
Yeah.
It just never sits comfortably. And I know in this case it's a little bit different because these owners saved the club and you quite like these owners, but it should never go to the owner. It should go to the player.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's been 1 or 2 clubs that have done that. Like the owner's been there. He's like, no, give it to the captain. I can't remember who did that. I'm sure there's been someone who's done that in MLS. But yeah, I mean, and that also comes out of it's a North American tradition. That's how they do it, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. So
I do
I
get
don't
that as
like it.
well. I don't like it.
I don't like it, but at least understand it. And I mean, can you imagine the Vancouver Whitecaps? I guess they would just go to Mallet then, right?
Well, I was thinking the same thing because I was like, are they going to be like, who's this guy that's getting the trophy?
You saw obviously today Steve Nash came out of hiding, Whitecaps hibernation.
No, I didn't.
You didn't see he was down with Vanni and Axel in Arizona? You didn't see this? It was all over.
No, I did not.
Oh, dude, yeah. There's a photo of Vanni, Axel, and Nash down at the combine or whatever they're at and everyone's like, "Oh, hanging tough," and Andrew Del Bar was making jokes about
I've not been on Twitter today.
Oh, yeah. Andrew was like, "Oh, it would be awkward if like Nash didn't know who these two guys were." Because he hasn't been around. So.
It'd be even better if Vanni's like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
LAFC. Let's have a quick chat about them just to end this part. I mean, like, what now for LAFC? Because Carlos Vela is rumoured to be his last game. Chiellini as well. Could be his last game. Vela hasn't scored for 15 matches now. He hasn't scored since August. I knew he was on a bad streak, but until they mentioned that in the game, I was like, whoa.
Did he score when I was there? I think he did.
That might have been his last goal then that you saw.
I got to check that. I got to look that up.
Oh. But he looked out of sorts in this game as well. The Chiellini one, I was having thoughts about that. Now, he did show his age a little bit in some of the games down the stretch, but he also showed the importance of experience and stuff. I'd said before I would still take him here in some kind of role in Vancouver to help the younger guys. What then also crossed my mind is, I wonder what the chances would be of Vanni speaking to him and saying, would you like to come to Vancouver for a year in a non-playing role?
What?
Like to help grow the game in the Italian community in the city.
Oh, right. Yeah, maybe.
I think that'd be a fantastic thing for him.
Yeah.
I basically just want him here so we can get him in the show loads because I love him. I love talking to him.
Vela did score on August 23rd when I was at
you may have seen his last ever goal.
Maybe.
History in the making.
It was a fun night.
I will get down to a game there at some point. When I do get down, I mean, I've always wanted to go down because I feel the 3252 supporters group are so good. I love all their demonstrations.
They're quality.
I can't wait to go and see what they've got in store for next year. If I do get down to a game. I might have missed my chance to see them in their full glory because we spoke about this in last week's show. The Flair incident. It made headlines around the world, but MLS, we said, would come down hard on them. And they did.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be really interesting these investigations that happen, the league and the club as they do investigations, because the supporters there, as an observer, there are a number of them who do have a lot of power, control, influence. So in terms of getting those kind of items like the flares into the stadium, I think there's lots of ways that could have happened. Whether it was, supporter leadership, whether it was connections that they have.
The fact that a lot of fans walked in and they were walking like penguins.
Well, yeah, there is those. I remember. Did I ever tell you about that?
I don't know where this is going now.
Paulo Ternaghi once said, he's like, you got to come visit us in Milan, and we'll go to a game at the San Siro. He's I think he's Inter fan. He's an Inter fan. Which, yeah.
Is that your attempt at an Italian accent?
No,
you going about my accents?
No.
You got to come to a Milan game.
No, yeah.
More Italian coming up.
But he literally said to me, he's like, yes, you'll come to a game, and you will have to shove the flare up your cheeks so that you can get flares into the game. And I was like, I'm good just to come and watch.
Oh, superb. But yeah, MLS announced on Wednesday sanctions against LAFC following serious misconduct by the 3252 supporter group prior to the Western Conference final last weekend against Houston. LAF have agreed to a full investigation of the incident. Violators will be subject to further penalties, indefinite bans, including the MLS Cup, and all appropriate legal action. The comprehensive review will focus on improving security and supporter management processes for 2024. For failing to meet required safety protocols, LAFC has been fined $100,000 and will be subject to league oversight related to security and supporter management processes. For next year, 3252 will have all supporters' privileges indefinitely suspended pending the completion of the review. Now, they were also restricted for activities at the MLS Cup this weekend. It was then clarified that privileges being indefinitely suspended meant no drums, no flags, things like that. So basically, you want to suck the whole atmosphere out of the game.
Yeah, it's weird. They did have some stuff at the final, right? I saw some flags and I thought I saw a drummer. But yeah, there's this. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, in my opinion, from the supporters. Because are they going to say, I can't see them being like, from what I know of that community, and I've met some of their people. You met some of them in 2009 when they were of a different stripe.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I went to some meetings in 2009 at the MLS Cup in Seattle, and I met some of the leaders of the GOATs then, and they're not the kind of people, from my interactions with them, who would be like, oh yeah, it was Billy and Susie, they brought it in. Like, they're not going to give up their own people.
No,
I don't think. But then also, so that's one issue. Also, I think that it's, for them, it's going to be a test of this culture clash, right? Like,
yep.
It's very much a Latin American infused community in terms of their supporter community there. Like the way they support is very, Latin American, which is awesome. And in Latin America, there's this ongoing tension between yourselves and the stewards of your clubs, and what you can do and what you can't do, and how much you push back and the ways you push back. And so it's going to be, because with MLS and in America, it's our way or the highway. And so will they say, okay, we're going to live by your rules, or are they going to try and circumvent that in some way, shape, or form? Or are they going to say, screw you all, there's going to be no support in the stadium anymore, or for a period of time? Or it's going to be, because it will
be interesting. I back them totally. It's this is like, you knew they were going to come down hard on them. This just seems very excessive. I still think MLS will use that imagery at some point down the line, although now that they've issued such a big fine to LA, I'm not sure that they might. But why would you not? It looked spectacular.
Yeah, it was one of the, as far as I know, it was the largest ever flare display done flare using a flares in a display in MLS at a league match, or a league or playoff match, anyways. But it would be interesting to see if they do end up using it, because they used to do that all the time. They'd say, oh, you can't do this stuff, and then they'd be like, it would be in their advertising. But no, I think those guys we talked about last week from Portland, who did the flares, the first ever in 2011, their first ever away game at Salt Lake. Like, they had, like, I can't remember if it was season-long bans or forever bans, and there's a bunch of them. They used to stand before the stadium was expanded in Portland. I think they used to stand at the fence, where I don't even know if in that era if they could see anything in the game, but they would just come to the game and stand outside the stadium at the fence. Where I think some of them got banned pre-MLS too, and they would do that. They would come. Remember, you could kind of watch the game back in the day.
Yes,
yeah.
Before the stand got tall.
So I think they would stand on bikes, or they put a bike up against the thing and stand on a bike and try and see. I don't know. I might be mixing up pre-MLS with that 2011 incident that played on through into 2012, because it was. I'm pretty sure. If my memory's right, it was their last away game of the season. And they were not in the cup, I don't think. And so it was kind of like, they're like, hey, we're going to do a display that we think is meaningful. And Whatever.
Yeah. Threatening legal action takes it to a whole different level, though, as well. I'm not quite sure what that would be, and we won't get into it all because we don't know US legal stuff and Californian legal stuff, but that's like, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah.
That is it for our MLS Cup chat. We're going to be turning attention to the Whitecaps next as I sit down for my annual end-of-season chat with Vanni Sartini. We'll be back with that on number 12 in AFTN's 2023 Festive 15 after this.
Hi, I'm Brian White, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
We don't need to hold hands and pray. No. You just gotta have faith in me. Yeah. We don't need to hold hands and pray. No. You just gotta have faith in me. I know. Knows what the feeling's like. Endless morning follows you into the night. My stomach hurts so bad I can barely sleep. I wish you had just one more day with me. I keep your chain wrapped around my neck. Left the keys in 4 minutes. Someone stole your car without no makeup on. Everyone can see your scars. I've been self-conscious cause I talk slow. People think I'm high, I don't even smoke though. I keep your chain wrapped
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's number 12 in AFTN's Festive 15 for 2023 from New Jersey, former Artist of the Month, Crazy in the Brains. That was their single that they released in October, Hold Me Close, a very personal song there from Christoph Jesus about the passing of a loved one. You can find it on their Kicked Out of the Choir EP that was just released in this month and all the usual places. You can find it on Bandcamp as well, crazyinthebrains.bandcamp.com. Kicking off our Festive 15 songs for this show, and we've got another 2 to kick off parts 3 and part 4. In this part though, we're turning our attention to the Whitecaps, and it's our annual sit down with the Whitecaps head coach. We did our first one way back in 2013 with the newly appointed Carol Robinson. We've done it every year since with Robbo, Mark DeSantis, with Vanni. Here's the latest chat with Vanni after a very successful and a very eventful year for the Whitecaps and Vanni Sartini. So go stick the kettle on, grab your biscuit of choice, sit back and relax, and listen to our end of season chat with the gaffer. So Vanni, thank you as always for doing our end of season chat, a look back at 2023, a look ahead to 2024. It's been quite the year, both on and off the pitch. In general, how do you look back at 2023?
Well, I think 2023 was a very good year, to be honest. The team performed very well. We confirmed our Canadian Championship win of the 2022. I think we reached a level of quality of football that we've never reached before, at least under my tenure. But I would say at least since I've been involved with the team. We involve a lot of new fans coming to the game. We develop players that they made their debut in their big arena, like Ali Ahmed, that never played in MLS before. He became a national team player. Until the end of the season, we developed players that were already with us, that they make the next step. I'm thinking about Pedro Vite. I'm thinking about Ryan Raposo. I'm thinking about Tristan Blackman. We had players having probably the best season of their life, Brian White and Ryan Gold. So, there's a lot of things that we have to be happy about. We reached the playoff. We played international soccer at BC Place after a few years, doing very good against Mexican team in both the games. So, I think there's been a growth of the team, growth of the organization, and now the things are becoming, I would say, exciting, because when you do strides forward, then to continue, it's even more challenging, and we're up to the challenge for next year.
Winning back-to-back Canadian championships, it's the first time that the club's done it in its history. And have you had your tattoo added to you? Have you had 2023 put on your arm?
Not yet, not yet. But before the start of next season, there will be an ad of 2023. Again, I really like the fact that we did a double. We never did it before.
Yeah. And
I'm really looking forward for next year, because the only teams who did the treble has been Toronto 16, 17, 18. So we wanna at least being equal to them and try to do this 22, 23, 24.
Obviously, that's going to get you into this new expanded Champions Cup, and the draw is this week. I know last year you're kind of disappointed that you didn't get a Mexican team. Don't know what the path ahead is going to be, but I take it you would much prefer to get a Mexican team. I mean, 10 MLS teams in it does make it feel like we're probably going to get another MLS team at some point.
Yeah, especially if we, like, say, make the second round, we win the first round, we go to the next round, we'll probably sooner or later play against an MLS team. And when it's international competition, you would love to play teams that you normally don't play. So, we actually look forward to the draw. It's going to be very important not only for the competition itself, but also because it's going to define our preseason according to when we play. And we are very. So I don't think we are still a team that can say we're going to win the Champions Cup. But last year it was our first dance, and we understood how this competition works. So let's try to do better this year. So last year we reached the quarterfinal. This year it's going to be even harder because there's a round more to reach the quarterfinal. So let's try to do it.
Last season, 46 games that the club played.
Yeah.
So much was made at the weekend. All LAFC's 53 games, and Houston were 48.
Yeah.
And everyone ignores what we had to do here. And when you consider that was also a first round playoff exit, and it was a knockout round of the League's Cup, 46 games is still a hell of a lot of games. Is it getting to the stage that it's too much now? I know Don Garber was asked about that last week, but it feels it's getting a little bit excessive.
Well, I don't know if it's too much. I think in order to be sustainable, probably we need to look. We could do things in a couple of ways. I would say differently. Like the first thing that is in my mind, it's probably we could have a couple of roster spot more each teams. So there's a lot of talk about the 4DP, there's a lot of talk about more money. I would say the most important thing that would be now for a coach probably would have to have a couple of maybe senior roster spot more, so you can have more players to rotate in if you're gonna play like 50 games. The other thing for me is I really like the Leagues Cup as a competition. I think it can be structured in a way that it's gonna be less disrupting for the season, in the sense that having a month where the entire league is stopped, of course, it forces you to play a lot of games more, a lot of midweek games more. So probably having the Leagues Cup, I would say, putting in the entirety of the season like the Champions League, maybe a couple of games, the round robin at the same time, but then the knockout round maybe on the weekend, on midweek games once every month or once every 2-3 weeks, would allow the team that are not in the final rounds to play league games in that weekend, and then have a more, I would say, normal calendar, I would say, for the rest of the year. But I'm not on the one that say, because it's easy to say, we want less games, it's too much. It's a little bit too much, but at the same time, I don't want to, in Italian we say, I don't want to spit in the plate that feeds me. And I know that because there's more games, there's more money from television, and there's a little more money for us player and coaches too. So that's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it that way, I mean, as much football as possible, but I mean, it means you've got to have a good depth in the squad. And when you look, like it was great last year adding all the Canadians, so bringing in Hoylett and Larea and Sam. Obviously, we don't know if they're all going to be back or not, but do you have to at some point think, is it worth bringing too many Canadians in? Because this year you've got the Gold Cup, there could be Copa America, so you could be losing a big chunk of your squad for like 2 months of the season.
Yeah, you're right. That's another peculiarity of MLS, that we play during the international tournaments. It doesn't happen in any other league in the world. It's you could have for 6-7 games not having your, I don't know, 5 or 6 players that are regular starters in your team, because it's not only the Canadian. If you look about our team, we have Andres Cubas that is regular with Paraguay, Javane Brown that is regular with Jamaica, Pedro Vita that is being called up by Ecuador. So on top of this, we have the Olympic Games this year. So we know that I just had a conversation with the Olympic coach, and Sebastian Berhalter is in the pool of the players that can go to the Olympics for the United States. So it's hard. At the same time, the Canadians are very important to have, because one of our competition that is very important for us is the Canadian Championship, and you have to field 3 Canadians in that game. So we want to have the best starting lineup possible in that competition, because also we know that it's really hard to win the Champions League, the Leagues Cup, and the MLS. It's hard to win the Canadian Championship too, but recent history proved that it's the competition where we have more possibility to go to try to lift some silverware. So it's very important for us. So we need to have a balance. But between me and you, I'm okay to lose players, 5 or 6 players for a month, because it means that we have very good players that are called by the national team. So that's and this. I'm telling you, I'm happy if in June we miss Ryan for a month because it's with Scotland at the Euros. So
I'd like that too.
yeah. So we don't have to. We always had that. We say always that the team is the leader, so the team needs to be ready to perform, even if we miss the best player in the team. So that's the thing.
So I mean, that's a lot of the positives for the year and looking ahead. If we look at some of the negatives, the lowlights of the year, obviously the playoffs didn't get that playoff win. But I mean, do you feel the team is close to making that playoff run? You look like no one was able to score against LAFC apart from the eventual champions and the Whitecaps. And it was I was going to say it's two closely contested games. The first one obviously wasn't, but there was reasons for that because you're chasing the game at that point. But I mean, you showed you can go toe-to-toe with that. You showed over the season against Cincinnati, against St. Louis, that the team can compete with the best. How close do you feel the team are to making that next step? And how many pieces away do you feel you are to being able to take that jump?
I think we're very close, and I think that one of the things that we missed was probably the habit to be in that game. And to be honest, I think that especially at home, at BC Place, we can beat every team in the league, and we showed this year, especially home. So I think that is extremely important for us to have the best regular possible, because we've seen this, because it's something that can really help you to win the series. So I think we're there, and it's not, I would say, a matter of pieces per se. It's more a matter of I would say even being more used to play that game. It's different if you tell me, talking about winning the MLS Cup. I think probably to win the MLS Cup, it's a big claim to say from us, but to at least reach top 4 position that allow us to have the possibility to play at least the first round with the home advantage and go to the second round and maybe to the conference final. Why not?
Obviously, the other big point at the end of the season was that last playoff game against LAFC. Have you watched it back?
Yeah, I watched both the games. I unfortunately watched the moment of my suspension, to be honest, of my red card too. And I think I have regrets, to be honest, not for the game that we played in Vancouver. I have regrets for the game that we played in LA. I think that after that first half, we could have done a better second half. It was in our possibility to play a better second half and win the game. And I think the game in Vancouver, to be honest, I don't want to reiterate the thing. I think that unfortunately we have some recrimination on the referees, to be honest. And it was a game that was a contested game, a tie game that could have gone both ways. And if I remember the great chance that we had with Brian 5 minutes to go. If that score we go penalty, maybe we win. So I think that we approached the game in the right way. Again, if I have a regret, I have the regret of the second half in LA. I have to be honest, specifically, I felt that we were going in a certain direction, and probably I think that the beginning of the second half, when we had this, I don't know if you remember, we had a great chance with the Shofi missing an easy pass for Sam to go 1v1 against Max. Yeah. If we score the 3-2, we win, and maybe our season change, and we have a fantastic ride till second round, maybe conference final, that's it. But again, these are the playoff, and that's the reason why what I said before, it's about habit to play those games.
Yeah.
It's about also be ready to go. I'm saying for myself too. I think that between me and you, I should have been more courageous to do a couple of subs that I had in mind in that game at halftime, and I didn't do it. I waited, and I did it after he scored the 3-2 and the 4-2. I should have done before.
Now, the suspension then has come out of that game.
Yeah.
But I mean, were you surprised by the severity of it, or were you expecting that?
I think it's a no, if I have to be honest. I know how MLS works. First of all, we have to be honest. So I made a terrible mistake. Like you cannot behave like I behaved on the field when I got sent off. You cannot be, I would say, so theatrical and dramatic and doing the things that I did. So I reckon that a suspension was arriving. I already said also the post thing with the press conference and the really poor choice of words that I made to say that joke. But again, it was just a joke and everything. But again, it's like it's all of this is my fault. So you cannot say that I was surprised when I received a big suspension. On the other way around, if you compare to other behavior of coaches all around the world, I'm thinking about Mourinho last year at the end of the Europa League final when he wait for the referee, and he's basically been all very, very threatening to the referee at the end of the game. He just got 4 games, not 6 games. And if I think about other suspension in the league, like, I don't know, what happened to Miazga, what happened to Kai Wagner, probably on that line, I would have expected like 3-4 games, not 6. But it is what it is. And now it's just a way to, I would say, commit myself to be completely honest when you analyze your behavior. And I said it was totally unacceptable the way that I behaved after the red card, because I let my team down for multiple games. I want to say I can't accept myself being emotional in that moment and get sent off, because if I jump on the field, because that's the urge of the moment. But when I see myself on TV, to be honest, doing those things after the red card, I feel embarrassed for myself. And we have to go from there, and we have to commit of being better in that moment, because there will be again moments where you feel that the referee is not doing a good job and you feel frustrated, but you need to be I would say focused enough in order to stay ready and help your team trying to overcome even these difficulties.
I mean, it's now the weird situation that you're going to be in the dugout for the Champions Cup, but you're not going to be in the dugout for the MLS matches. I mean, I'll be honest, I was worried that they were going to suspend you from all team activities, so that you were going to get like a 2 or 3 month ban where you couldn't do anything. So at least you can be in and around the team, you can train the team, you can get them ready. I mean, as a coach, I think I know what your answer to this will be, but how much of an impact does having the head coach not on the bench have for the team?
I think not too much, but a little bit. Yes, we don't have to. It's not. We don't have to hide ourselves and say that it's not going to be a problem. Of course, between me and you, it's better to have a coach suspended for 6 games than your best player suspended for 6 games.
Yeah.
So that's. But again, I will be able to be with the team during the week. I will be able to do the pre-game speech before the game. I won't be able to coach on the field, but no, Mike has worked with me for 2.5 years. We do everything together. We take all the decision together. So we'll go over, I would say, strategy of all different scenarios that can happen on the field, and I will trust completely his judgment during the 90 minutes. Of course, I think that coaching the team during the game is probably, I would say, something between 15% of my job. 85% is the work that you do during the week with the team, the fact that you choose the team to play, the tactics and everything. But I won't be able to give this 15% for at least the first games of the season. And so we will have to be even stronger in the preparation during the week, even stronger to be on the same page, me, Mike, Brendan, all the guys that we are working in the team, because we have to make sure then that the guys, the players, don't feel anything that is missing if I'm not on the bench. One good thing about this, that it happens in before the season, so we can have a kind of a trial run with probably for sure the last game, maybe the last 2 games of preseason. We will do it with Mike coaching from the bench and me being on in the stands. So we will have a trial run on this too.
I mean, aside from trying to control your emotions, how do you feel, or what do you need to work on as a coach now? Do you feel you've grown as a coach at the end of this year, say to the end of last year, to your first year?
Yes, I think I've grown a lot as a coach in 2 things. I would say most of them more, but I need to grow more. Like we did, we did an honest self-assessment at the end of the season about our work, and there's a couple of things that I can say I've grown a lot in these 2.5 years as a head coach. The first one is, in my opinion, the communication flow with everyone, with players, with management, with the staff. It's much better than when I started, and I really believe that in the fact that everyone needs to be part of the team, and everyone needs to be informed of everything that we do, and everyone needs to has to have the I would say the possibility to say, yeah, I don't know, I don't agree with this, and it doesn't mean that I agree with the people that don't agree, but at least I'm gonna take the information. So I'll give you an example. We started this thing with the most experienced player with the leadership group to meeting every 2 weeks, and it was fantastic. We were able to, I would say, in my opinion, prevent a lot of even problem that could have arisen in the locker room, because I knew perfectly what was happening and what was the pulse of the team. And sometimes the players helped me and say, hey, Vanni, we don't want maybe to travel a day before for this game, the group is feeling that we are doing too much this week, those kind of things that we were able to at the end tailor, customize better the work with the group. The other thing that I think we arrived much more prepared in terms tactically. I did a much better job to inform all the staff before the beginning of last season, and everyone was really up to speed at the beginning of the season on the way that we wanted to play. And it's the same thing that we're doing this year. So going very detailed on the work. I think it's the period that I'm working more in terms of tactics and going over the thing, because and it's a period where we need to educate a lot of the staff, because in this way we can I would say be sure that without micromanaging the staff is working well. If someone is even one simple thing is Michael coaching the first game on the bench, but even sometimes is I'm taking a group of players for an exercise, other coaches are taking other group of players for the exercise. So I think that's another area where I grew up a lot. There's another, managing the emotion. It's of course one thing that we always need to work on. Not that I don't have to remove my emotional side. I will always be an emotional person. I think it's also one of my strengths, to be honest, because it allows me to connect with people.
Yeah, I agree.
But of course I need to manage that. I want to be I think that going back in the season, I think we have to be better in deciding when to do, I would say, even a bigger turnover of players. We were saying before, we don't have 35 players, so we have to plan some games where we do a real big turnover because we need players that are going to be 100% maybe for next week. And I think that's what I think we became a little bit greedy after winning in Toronto, after making the 10 points on the first 4 games in the big round away, that we could have done a better job than resting some players. That's the first thing. And the second thing is we need to even, I think, be more intentional and I won't say intentional. I think we can do more with the substitution. We can do more winning games with players that are coming from the bench. We can do more even working during the week on specific situation. This is the last 10 minutes and we're changing the system because we're down, or we're putting this player because we're up, and having the players even readier to experience those situations and go there.
This week, the draft start, and then next week we've got the super draft. You were just down in Arizona. Do you see the club being busy this week and next week, or is that not really where you're looking at to strengthen the squad?
No, we are busy this week, especially because we have the free agency. So the players that are up for free agency, and between me and you, Mike, so we are looking everywhere, inside and outside. But for the immediate, I would say, contribution for the team, I think that it's better to look inside the league than outside the league because of the peculiarity of this league. So we are always, also because it's better to have everyone ready from the first day of training instead of like last year when I don't know, Sergio, for example, he wasn't with us for the first 5 weeks, and then he was behind, and then he got injured. So we will be busy. That doesn't mean that we're not looking abroad. We're actually have a lot of meetings with the scouts and everything on how to improve the team. But what I want to say to you that we're not going to make 10 moves. The team is already good. The team is already good, and we need to, in order to improve the team, we need to have some good players coming in, and some players that fit the way that we play. We need guys that are up to the work when we don't have the ball. Guys that know how to play in a very, I would say, structured way like we do. So yeah, we've been very, very busy on trying to identify the right profile.
And just last thing, I believe you're heading to Japan very shortly.
Yes.
Are you going to be spending Christmas down there, or are you going to be back before?
No, I'm coming back. I'm going to be here in Vancouver because, Wednesday there's going to be this draw for the Champions League. So there's a high probability that we play our first game on February 6, 7. So we need to start probably January 3 or 4. And so I'll be here in Christmas. But, it's going to be my 3rd or 4th Christmas in a row in Vancouver. Like, it's already, it became my house here. So it's okay. I'm coming back here. I'm coming back from Japan on the 23rd.
And what is it about Japan that you love so much? Because I know you're learning Japanese, and can you maybe do what Celtic did and bring back some really top quality Japanese guys with you?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Well, I love different culture, and Japan and Japanese people, of course. Japanese culture is I would say very different from the culture that we have it here. So the fact that I was studying the language also was an idea also to go there and try to improve and to see which level I am. To be honest with you, the other thing I was going to try to do this like in competition with Japan with this vacation was to go to Africa to for a safari and to look for some places there, like Botswana. But it's too far from here. You need 24 hours, and I didn't have too many days. And I didn't have too many days to go. So let's say that's one of the things that we can do for next year. Hopefully we go further in the playoffs, so we are sure that we are not starting on January 5 for the Champions League, but for January 16, and I can have a week more of vacation.
Well, have a great trip. Thank you as always for your time, and thank you for all the memories this year, and we'll talk to you soon.
Fantastic. Thank you, Michael.
He's the gaffer. You can try it on with him. He's the gaffer. Even when he's on a limb. He's the gaffer. When his back's against the wall. Has the answers to it all. He's the gaffer.
Vanni Sartini there. A lot to talk about the season past and what is to come. Didn't want to focus too much on the season that's been. We've already talked to him. We've brought you audio. We're looking ahead. Obviously, we did get a chance to talk to him there about that suspension that he's got, and I think he covered that well. If we look into 2024 though, Zach, what do you feel Vanni needs to improve in most, both himself as a coach and with his team?
There does need to be that emotional quotient elevation for him.
That's a very polite way of putting it.
No, I mean, he's a passionate person, and that's a good thing in most respects. I think there's been times where it's boiled over and I haven't liked it and it hasn't been a big deal. It's been positive for a lot of people. It has been my cup of tea, but so it's not all a bad thing, but at the end of the season, it was very bad and even I would say unhealthy in terms of the off the record comments that became on the record. And so, yeah, I think he just needs to, and I think he already has. I think he will continue. Obviously, he's got things he's going to be walking through and whatever. I think he will grow. He will learn. He will be, a touch more guarded. Maybe I don't think. I don't say that in a negative way, Michael. I know you'd be like, oh, you don't want him to be more guarded. You want him to be open and honest the way he's always been, and just to continue to be himself. But I think he'll be a touch more guarded.
I think he will be in a positive way. Yeah, he'll be open with some. He'll be more guarded in different environments now, I think. Yeah. So I mean, it's a learning curve, and it's like we talked about something that Axel said way back at the end of season press conference. It's like we're a club that allows for mistakes and we learn from mistakes. So as long as the same mistakes aren't repeated, I think it's just a line's drawn on and the club moves on.
Shifting gears for a moment, I think as a manager, I think there's there's ways he can improve as a in-game management kind of in terms of his subs or willingness to alter things sooner rather than later. I think that's been, he's seen a number of unfortunate results go against him because he wanted to hold on a little bit longer to see if they could work them way out of situations and they couldn't, and it cost them points and whatever. And he's talked about it. He's been upfront about that. So I think he knows that. I think he has to grow on that. I think also too, I think he maybe needs at least a little bit more flexibility tactically. I'm not saying he's inflexible because he has shown the ability to use multiple formations and approaches or whatever. I'm not saying like he needs to become all of a sudden someone who uses wingers and whatever, things that he detests or whatever. I just think there needs to be a little bit more openness. And obviously he's played a significant role in working with Axel and building the squad so that he has players that suit what he wants. So I don't think there's like a huge mismatch in that, and there's less square pegs and round holes maybe than there's ever been. So, but yeah, I think he can grow in that kind of tactical approach, tactical nous kind of area, even just a little bit.
Yeah, and we're going to see the start now. The trade window opens this week. We're recording this show as usual on Sunday night. Trade window opens very early on Monday, so I mean there might even have been some activity by the time that this podcast comes out. There was some activity Whitecaps wise, and that they did manage to get Sebastian Berhalter re-signed for the next 2 seasons, and I'm delighted by that. I think he's He's set career highs this year. He's still 22. He's still got a big ceiling ahead of him. He can play DM. He can play CM. And we talked about it on the show last week. He's a good backup to Andre Kubis. Saw some folks saying, now that they've got him locked up, would the Whitecaps maybe look to get rid of Kubis? Because there are rumours that there's interest from South America, $7 million fees being kind of floated about. I think you would want more for him, but he's not the man that if Kubis goes is the man that's going to step up and replace him. You need a better replacement, with all respect to Sebastian, but very glad that he's inked for another 2 years.
Yeah, I saw some of that as well, and I would agree with that perspective. I think it speaks to the season that he had, to that his re-signing has been so universally applauded across the fan base. Which is great, and you're right. He offered them more this year than other veteran players and other players in the squad, and deservedly got minutes. And I think Vanni's trust in him will see his minutes grow in the future, and they will rely on him even more in situations where they need to or want to. I like I said, I would agree with you that he's not at a place where he can replace Kubis in this side.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't say that moving Kubis would be a bad thing for the Whitecaps' approach to squad building and just like football management.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if they can get 7 to 10 million for him, what you can do in MLS for that money?
Yeah, if you're gonna reinvest it all, for sure.
Yes.
Can you remind me? Do we know factually precisely what they paid for him? Was it 2-3?
It was 2.5 or 3.
Yeah,
I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but it was 2.5 or 3.
So as frustrating as it might be for some in the fan base, I think that to pay 2.5 to 3, sell them for 7 to 10, and then fully or almost fully reinvest that into squad building within obviously the awkward parameters of MLS, I think that could be a very good thing. The question that probably asking is the kind of what you were addressing earlier is, do they want to deal with that hiccup in the progression that they're on to bring in someone else who has to adjust to the league? You might think they're the same quality or better quality than Kubis, but you don't know in this context and all that kind of stuff. So,
unless they make a big play for a guy in the league, then as well.
That too,
that used it in that position. So I mean, that's exciting times ahead.
But all that to say is, I think different than I think my perspective would have been like 2-3 years ago for them. I don't think it's a horrible thing if they're considering to more than double their money if they're gonna reuse it in the right ways. And in one sense, I think if they do that, in even no matter not knowing how it'll play out, I think they should be again applauded for that kind of move, because I think that's what most football clubs around the world are trying to do, is trying to bring in good players to grow their team, and if they can be sold on to help continue to improve the team and show the owners that the investment they're making is growing and becoming more and more valuable.
Well, I mean, the Whitecaps, they're going to need a good squad. They're fighting on 4 fronts again in 2024. One thing they won't have is a 4th DP. Don Garber ruled that prospect out in his State of the League address. It's going to be a busy schedule for next year, and we're going to turn our attention to both of those things now as we keep the MLS focus on, and we're going to hear a little bit from Don Garber's State of the League address and talk about some of the big points that came out of it as well. And we'll also bring you song number 11 and AFTN's 2023 Festive 15. We'll be back with all of that after this.
Hi, I'm Ryan Gold, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
I'm Mike Balls, you might know me from Soccer Violence or being an MC in the GLC. Getting respect since 1983 and I'm still getting wrecked. The shit's hit the fan, I've got a new plan, cause I owe money to my dealer and the tax man. So I put it on Facebook, I took my last breath. I'm Mike Balls, gonna fake my own death. Mike Balls just died this morning. Time to run, there was
nowhere to hide. His only course of action was pseudocide. At the funeral everybody cried, remembering how much he liked his bacon fried. People got high, people got pissed, talking about how much Mike would be missed. But Mike was at home in his living room, watching his own funeral live on Zoom. People smoking weed as a mark of respect, and we had his favourite tunes playing on the deck. Yeah, the wait was a party, even though a sad time. Then Mike texted me to meet him for a fat line. They said he died after getting a rash. Then 2 days later, he's out on the lash, being given his last rites by a priest. It's the third time Mike's been declared deceased. Mike Balls just died this morning and he's dead. He's fucking dead.
Now I freak people out when they see me, cause they think that I'm a fucking zombie. I rip my clothes, put makeup on my head, I look like an actor from The Walking Dead.
Where's Mike? People spreading rumours, he's last seen buying cheese and chips and boomers from coast to coast on a Facebook post. People keep seeing Mike Ball's ghost.
When the chaps know, cause I'm in hiding. Am I coming back? Well, I'm still deciding, cause life's quite nice now I passed away. There's loads of bills I don't have to pay, and I started a fund on the internet to pay for the funeral and my debt. Look it up, it's on Just Giving. I'm Mike Balls and this is how I'm living.
Mike Balls just died this morning and he's dead. He's fucking dead.
What Mike Balls says is what Mike Balls does, and he's faking his own death just for the buzz. Here's the point, don't be mistook, coming back like Jesus in the holy book. Praise be, back from the dead. When you see him rise up, it'll fuck up your head. Bloodshot eyes and a rattling chain, like Lord Lucan but without a moustache.
I'm Mike Balls going underground, and like Shannon Matthews, I won't be found. Like an elaborate game of hide and seek, I'm Mike Balls, check out my technique. Need to get away, need a place to hide, chilling with Derek Akora and his spirit guide. I started asking, is it real or is it fake, when I went to my funeral and the wake. The people always say nice things when you're dead, and you should have fucking seen the spread. They had fucking sausage rolls, they had mini Scotch eggs, they had cheese and pineapple egg on.
Mike Balls just died this morning and he's dead. He's fucking dead.
Strictly chilling, now he's dead, spending the afterlife out of his head. You read it in the Argus, in the obituaries. Then I see him down Smith eating burger with cheese. Like the resurrection, change of direction, only back from the dead to make a doll collection. Living his best life since he died, hanging down Barry Island at the seaside.
All he wanted was to rest in peace, but he started getting heat off the police. It all went wrong and he got all chopsy when they came round his house to do the autopsy.
Insurance won't pay, but it wasn't a shot, cause he's still posting on TikTok.
And a dead body was a deal breaker, so I got a job as an undertaker.
Mike Balls just died this morning and he's dead. He's fucking dead.
I fucking used to love Most Haunted. I got a t-shirt and a cap and everything. One of them used to be a laptop engineer, but he swapped over to become a ghost hunter on the show. I know someone that went on a ghost tour with Richard Felix. Yvette Fielding's husband, Carl, who was also on the show, is a fully qualified ninja. Apparently he's the only one in the UK. Look it up on Google, you prick.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's number 11 in AFTN's 2023 Festive 15. It's friends of the show, Goldie Looking Chain, Mike Balls is dead.
You down with GLC, Mike?
Down with the GLC, you knows it. That song, released in May as a single, comes from Mike Ball's Boutique. Even mentions a little bit of soccer violence in there. For Soccer Violence Awareness Month, comes up in March, everybody. Got my songs already planned for that one. But you can't wait. We've got one more song this week to come from our Festive 15 that'll kick off the next part. We're going to turn our attention away from the Whitecaps. In a way, we will touch on the Whitecaps in this part, but back to MLS in general. Because on Friday, Don Garber issued his annual State of the League address in Columbus to attending media in person and also on Zoom. I listened in on the Zoom. We're going to chat in this part about some of the big things that came out of that, but I want to just kick things off by bringing you a little bit of audio from the State of the League. And in particular, I've put a few questions together here, all in the same subject, which is about the schedule, managing the 2024 schedule. How do you fit all these games in? How do you balance teams taking all the competition seriously, along with players' health and various aspects of that. We'll get into some of the stuff that came out of that, but let's hear Don Garber's thoughts on getting that 2024 schedule and what it might mean to the Whitecaps and some other teams across the league.
Specifically about this upcoming season, you have Leagues Cup again. Copa America is going to be a big event on U.S. soil. Do you take breaks for these? Can you afford to take breaks for these? And then you're going to have, of course, face that issue again in 2025, and obviously with the World Cup in 2026. Can the league afford to shut down for periods of a time in order to accommodate everything?
Well, Steve, let me say we can't afford it. So that's a message for everybody. If we have to shut the league down, lose games, it impacts our players, it impacts our partners, it impacts our fans, it impacts everything that MLS has to deliver for all of our stakeholders. That being said, we've got to manage through that process and be clever and creative and figure out how do we reconfigure the schedule with all these different events so that we could make it work. Clearly, the World Cup in 26 is an entirely different animal, and I can't imagine we're going to be playing games during the World Cup, but the economic impact of that is significant. So how could we work away? Can we change the schedule format? Can we look at an Apertura and a Clausura? Can we reconfigure the Leagues Cup? Can we figure out ways that the competition exists differently in terms of how our teams play each other so that we could manage travel and rest? The one thing that I say to everybody internally when we have these discussions, remember, this is the largest soccer league in the world by far. We play in the largest market in the world by far. We have multiple weather changes dealing with game disruption and the rescheduling of games more than any other league, the nature of weather. Our players travel more than any players in any league around the world. All of that, I think, for everybody listening here, needs to be processed to understand how complicated all this is. And this is just one of the many complicated things that this league manages through all of the challenges, through all of the opportunity. We still are able to come, be in a beautiful building, have a great event like the one we're going to have tomorrow, have a great partnership with best, most advanced company in the world, have our players earn more, have better living, have more infrastructure built, all of those things with all of the pressures, both domestically and internationally. I think it speaks to the commitment of everybody, including media, that believe in our league.
You launched the Leagues Cup, which is your own in-season tournament, and spoke a little bit about what the learnings were in year one. Can you speak a little bit more to what those learnings were and if there's any changes planned for year two? Thank you.
Sure. We're proud of the fact that Leagues Cup was launched in a smaller format several years ago and is a large full league combination with Liga MX this year. So the concept of an in-season tournament is something that we're proud, being the first league to actually launch that this year. It brought with it enormous opportunity and value, and we couldn't be more excited about the ratings and all the folks that attended and supported our clubs in that tournament, both those who were supportive of our teams and the Liga MX teams. But we have to work through some changes to that tournament that we're working with Liga MX about that are going to make it even better. Should we be thinking about a schedule that will be more productive, if you will, for some of those Liga MX teams that will reduce some of their travel? Are there ways for us to think about how that tournament could elevate itself and have even more of an exclusive window of promotion and marketing opportunity, which means building on our relationship with Apple and some of the sponsors of that tournament? The good news is it's year one of a partnership. It's not like we just said we're going to do this for a couple of years. This is going to go on. We'll continue to work with the Mexican League to make it even better.
In terms of the playoff format this season, the best of three, how did you feel that went? Is that something you're going to stick with? And you mentioned as well the schedule being tight and so on. US Open Cup, you've made some comments in the past that maybe you're not entirely happy with that competition. Are you looking at maybe MLS teams skipping the US Open Cup?
So I'll start with the MLS, the US Open Cup. I made those comments because I believe if we're going to have our professional teams competing in a tournament that is the oldest tournament of its type anywhere in the country. We all need to embrace it, from our federation to our respective leagues, and give it the profile and give it the support that it needs. If we can't do that, then we all should meet together and decide that there needs to be a new plan. So I will say that I'm pleased that our competition group and U.S. Soccer have been working together since that last U.S. Soccer Board meeting, and have been working on ways to evolve the U.S. Open Cup so that it can be more valuable to everybody. That process is ongoing. There might be changes to our participation sometime in the future. There's nothing that we can announce right now, but I want to thank the Federation, whether it's the CEO, JT Batson, or it's the group that supports it from a committee perspective, to actually start saying, hey, this is ours, let's try to make it better. Oh, on the first one, I mean, listen, we have been, as a league, constantly working at ways to evolve our format. Part of that is driven by a calendar which changes often, but part of it also, as the league expands, how do we create a playoff format that's going to deliver the most value for our fans? We love the format. You know, we had more teams have home games than in the last go-around. Our attendance was up. Our ratings were up. There was more teams sort of towards the end that were performing best during the regular season. So when you look at all the things that you use to evaluate a playoff format, we've checked all those boxes. But like everything else, you could assure that we're going to sit down with our committee in February and say, are there things that we should look at, whether it's next year and the years to come, to continue to evolve it. But we thought it was a great success.
Don, I know we've had a number of questions for you about the schedule and the complicated nature of what you guys are trying to accomplish. But with a mid-season shutdown that will have to happen with the World Cup in 26, will you consider this an opportunity to reconfigure the schedule to make it a summer and spring calendar, for which there are a lot of benefits, such as aligning the transfer windows with Europe, and also creating a long runway to finish the playoffs without the break of a transfer window that, obviously pauses the momentum that now takes place?
Paul, we have to look at everything, but we also have to realize, and we've had this conversation with CONCACAF, with FIFA, we've had that conversation internally. We are weather constrained, and we've got to figure out a right way to manage that. Now, are there creative and unique ways to manage through that? Should we be thinking about playing in a single destination for a period of time during winter months where you can't play necessarily in Toronto or in Kansas City or in Chicago or New York or Boston? Who knows? Maybe that might be the answer. What I will say is we have to look at everything to ensure that we could not lose games in our schedule and be able to have a schedule that works for our players and works for our fans. And that's the tough work that our schedule group and our commercial group and our ownership will work on to finalize a format for 2026.
We are the league with the extra man. We are the league, we are the empty man. And don't you say you've been here for the league are here, and we have scored. We are the league. We are the league.
So Don Garber there just chatting about some plans for the schedule. We'll get into some of what he said there, Zach. Now, there was a lot made during the MLS Cup, the LAFC. That was their 53rd game of the season that they were playing. Houston had played 48 games this year, and I was like, no one's mentioning the Whitecaps here, because the Whitecaps played in 4 competitions and played 46 games in the 2023 season. I mean, that, for a team that got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs as well, that's a hell of a lot of games for any team to be playing.
Yeah, it definitely has grown in these 12 years or whatever of MLS, for sure.
Well, when you think, like, they got beat in the first knockout round in the Leagues Cup, and they didn't get past 2 games in the playoffs, and they still played 46 games. That's just... I mean, next year as well, just all around is going to be a nightmare, because again, the Whitecaps are competing on 4 fronts in the league. the Canadian Championship, the Champions Cup, and of course the Leagues Cup. So, I mean, Garber there said the league will adapt and they'll figure out the right way to change, and whether that means roster changes or whether participation in some tournaments for some clubs and participation not in some tournaments for some clubs. Right away, you're thinking, well, they're talking US Open Cup there. And, I mean, he's already spoken in the past that he doesn't feel it's at the level that benefits MLS clubs. And he was asked about that, and he did address that as well. I mean, it's interesting because he says they have to look at ways that could manage the schedule to give those teams that have more schedule congestion an opportunity to have a bit more time in between games. You've come up with a Leagues Cup that's added to this schedule. And I loved the Leagues Cup this year. And I'm looking forward to it next year. I thought it was a great tournament. But you're part of the problem because you've added these extra games to the schedule.
Yeah, I wish you would have shouted that across Zoom to him. No, yeah, that's ridiculous. I mean, I know your mind, and I understand why, because of it, Garber's comments in the past goes to US Open Cup. My first thought is the Leagues Cup should be the optional one. If there's clubs that don't want to play in it or don't see the value in it or aren't going to host games or whatever, like, that's not a real competition. Like, there's not a more make-believe competition since the Mickey Mouse Cup. Like, right? Like,
well, the thing is, as well, it doesn't benefit the Mexican teams, as we saw this year. No. And like he touched on that there as well. He mentioned that they might look at how scheduling the Leagues Cup might come into it in future years to be better for the Mexican teams, but also for this year to look that they're not having to travel as far. So it might be like, we don't get a Mexican team here in Vancouver because we're hosting a group, because it might be like, oh, that's too far. Toronto's too far. Montreal's too far. We're not playing games there for these Mexican teams. They need to be in the south of the US. So
then, if you're the Whitecaps, aside from obviously, winning the competition and getting the ultimate purse, the ultimate prize in it.
Yeah.
If you're not getting a Mexican team to come and bring new people into your stadium or potentially fill your stadium or half your stadium or whatever, is it really worthwhile?
Yeah. Especially because it gives the Whitecaps 2 cracks at the cherry for the Champions Cup.
That's true.
So, I mean, it'd be nice if it was like, okay, we've won the Canadian Championship. We're already in the Champions Cup. We've got a really bad schedule. We're not getting Mexican teams. We'll just not bother playing this. But you don't know. You'd have to make your decision early that you weren't playing, and you don't know then what's going to happen in the Canadian Championship. This might surprise you. How many MLS teams do you think are in the Champions Cup next year off the top of your head?
Well, isn't it really large? Is it like 7 or 10 or 8 or something?
10?
It's 10, yeah. I thought it was 10, yeah.
That seems insane to me. I know it's an expanded competition, and obviously we've got 2 CPL teams in as well, but 10 MLS teams? So more than a third of your league have qualified for the Champions Cup.
Yeah, it's awkward.
But, I mean, things aren't going to get better. He was asked, can you afford to shut the league down for things like Copa America, for the Gold Cup? And it's like, let me say, we can't afford it. That's a message for everybody. If we have to shut the league down, we lose games, it impacts our players, although it doesn't. It gives them rest. It impacts our partners, that it does, and money. It impacts our fans. I don't know how much they would care, but if they get a little break instead of just games where maybe B-team players come out, I don't know. But he says it impacts everything that MLS has to deliver for their stakeholders. We've got to manage through that process and be clever and creative and figure out how to reconfigure the schedule with all these different events so that we can make it work. So that then opened up some further discussions, as we heard there. So he spoke about 2026. And this I liked, where he says, clearly the World Cup in 26 is an entirely different animal, I can't imagine we're going to be playing games during the World Cup. That is what I wanted to hear, because I thought they were still going to plough on and the Whitecaps were going to have to find a new home for a couple of months.
The only thing I totally agree in general. The only thing I would say about that is you're going to have so many people traveling to here.
Yeah, I was going to make that point as well. It's like there's a chance to showcase your league at the same time.
Exactly, because like for example, when Bayern does a tour in North America, the fans who come over, they don't just go to the 1 or 2 or 3 Bayern matches. They ground hop as many stadiums and go to as many places as possible.
It's like if you're on vacation in a foreign country and there's a football match on, you're going to try and take that in if you can.
Totally. I had buddies they went to watch I forget which team, but it was in the current CSL in Toronto area.
Oh wow. Well, I mean, this might help the CPL, it might help League One. I mean, the thing is, you do want it to stop though, because you want MLS to be a world-class league where a lot of their players are in this World Cup. And with 48 teams, you've got to think there's going to be a hell of a lot of MLS players in that World Cup.
Yes. Every team you think would lose X number of players or a number of players. But again, if you can schedule it properly, there could be potentially upside. It's something they really do need to evaluate.
Well, he did mention that the economic impact of having the tournament here is going to be significant. So is that a time to maybe play the Canadian Championship, play the US Open Cup, maybe even the Leagues Cup? You're obviously going to have much reduced teams, but it's just extra games, and BC Place wouldn't be available as some other stadiums wouldn't be, but you can make that work.
Yeah, I think you can make that work. Obviously, it would be unfortunate for a club like the Whitecaps, but maybe they don't get home games during that, or maybe there's other possibilities, opportunities. Maybe they play, like you said, one of those competitions or one or more of those competitions out of Swangard.
Mm-hmm.
Or the
I mean, Canadian Championship, you could pack out Swangard. Yeah, have a game. Like Centennial Stadium packed in something like 60,000 for the Commonwealth Games opening ceremony. So, I mean, you can do stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, that's a chance to take the team to the island. That's interesting. He also mentioned, I don't think I've heard him mentioning this before, as like, can you change the scheduling format? He said, can we look at an Apertura and a Clausura in 2026?
I'm not sure how I feel about that as a permanent. I don't know if it's too gimmicky to do that as a one-off. You know what I mean?
I don't think it is for a one-off. I didn't like CPL doing it in that first year. I thought it devalued the league quite a bit.
I didn't mind it. I don't know that it played out the best way, but I didn't mind it. I also like that the CPL was open and honest and saying, "Hey, we're trying some things, and we value this, and this, and we're going to see what we can do." And then they tried it and they said, "Okay, we want to alter this." And
I mean, I think that's the only thing that really makes sense for 26 is to try that.
Isn't there this idea of doing some hub?
Well, yeah, there was this other thing that was presented, or he talked about, which is winter games. So if you tweak the schedule so that the league starts way earlier and have games in the winter. Now, he obviously acknowledges the fact that certain places in the country you can't play games in the winter. So he talked about having a neutral venue for winter games if the schedule has to change in 2026. So think MLS is back during COVID. You go to somewhere like Florida, Arizona, Vegas, and you have all the teams there playing a tournament for a couple of months in January, February. Again, gimmicky for a year. Not averse to it. Interesting idea.
Yeah, I'm open to that. I think that feels more potentially palatable as a one-off, as opposed to saying, "Hey, we're going to do Apertura Clausura for a year." I'm not saying I'm close to that idea. I think doing something a little bit more out of the box might be a better option.
I mean, if they could make the Leagues Cup work as a pre-season tournament, I think that would be an amazing way to kick off the MLS season.
the problem with that, Michael, and I can't remember how the reformat all works with the Champions Cup, but that would have to change, wouldn't it? Well, yeah, that's what's happened with that tournament. That has almost been like a showdown between MLS and Liga MX, and it's been very unbalanced because you have MLS teams that are just getting going, and you have Mexican teams that are mid-season form, right? So Again, I can't remember how they've structured things for the new cup, but I think it's not that different, right? In terms of when it starts. The new thing's kicking off early February. Yeah, so that's not like that different. The draws this week. The draws on December 13th, and it starts early February. Half the teams come in the first 2 weeks, and then the next lot of teams come in the next 2 weeks. So I mean, that would have to change as well. I mean, I don't see how you can fit all this football into 2026. Something has to give. And I mean, you'd think the League's Cup's the obvious thing because it's like, it's not really a proper tournament per se, as much as I enjoyed it. It's like that would hopefully be the thing that they would sensibly say needs to go. He also said, can they figure out ways that the competition, like the League's Cup, exists differently in terms of how our teams play each other so we can manage travel and rest. I mean, they already kind of made it regional, but for the Mexican teams, it was still a lot of travel. And they obviously did struggle. And Mexican teams are not going to want to be getting embarrassed by MLS teams. And if they don't do things that please the Mexican teams, they'll be like, I don't see what's in this for us, aside from making money. Which, if that's enough for them, fair enough. Yeah, it's going to be. It's totally going to be very interesting to see how they plan for this and the alterations they're willing to make, and then how that impacts it all playing out. Yeah, I mean, he says that they're looking at ways to evolve the US Open Cup so that it's valuable to everybody. That process is ongoing, he said. Yeah. And there might be changes to MLS participation sometime in the future. I think that's crazy. We've talked about this before. Yeah. Imagine if you saw it when Manchester United said, "Yeah, we're going to go play in the World Club Cup tournament instead of being in the FA Cup this year," and like English people lost their mind. Right? Obviously, it's not the same with the US Open Cup. No, but I've said this countless times on the show. The US soccer public do not appreciate what a wonderful competition they have. You're not wrong, but that doesn't mean that MLS clubs should now be like, oh yeah, it's optional to play in it. Or well, that's what pisses me about the FA Cup. It's like the big Premier teams. It's like they don't take it seriously now, and like even at my team's level in Scotland, we're fourth tier. And we've got the League Cup, the Scottish Cup, and the Lower Division Cup. Which there's 4 tiers in Scotland? Yeah. 4 league tiers. There's a lot of tiers if you're an East Fife fan, but that's different tiers. But, so there's 3 cup competitions. And the League Cup, which East Fife have won 3 times, like storied history in that competition. It's played pre-season now as a group stage. And even my team don't take it seriously. They just think of it as a pre-season tournament. And it's like, you've won this competition 3 times. It's a big part of your history. And the lower division cup for the bottom 3 divisions, they don't care about that either. And they play young guys. It's like, this is your chance to actually win a trophy. Yeah. What is the point of just playing in a league and trying to survive in a league? If that's your whole plan of existence, what's the point of having a club? Yeah. Going off on a whole different tangent here. Other stuff that came out of Garber's State of the League thing, as we mentioned in the first part, no plans to add a 4th designated player. He said there will be an announcement coming out of the board meeting on December 14th with a number of exciting things that we're doing that our folks are focused on. Now, these must be quite major things because he said there will be media availability around it. And one of the things that's come out is it looks like it's going to be clubs can have 3 designated players, full designated players, and 3 under-22 initiative players. I'm all for that as opposed to a 4th DP because it helps clubs like the Whitecaps as opposed to the big money guys. Yeah, I think that's positive. But you'll have clubs like Miami and whoever else maybe upset by that.
Yeah, I mean, the league right now, folk are moving in very different circles, which is again kind of why it's nice that a club like Columbus have just gone out and won the whole thing. A player I would love the Whitecaps to look at, and they've not got a hope in hell because this guy, he's playing for AFC Wimbledon just now, but there's a good chance that he's going to get a move to maybe a championship club in England or one of the big European teams. He's an Iraqi international, which when I tweeted this out, folk are like, you do remember what happened the last time we had an Iraqi international because we couldn't get a work permit and stuff for him. Ali Al-Hamadi. He's a forward from Iraq. He's played 11 times for the national team. He has scored 20 goals in 37 games for AFC Wimbledon. And he is on fire this season. He's got 10 goals in 18 league games, 3 goals in 2 cup games. Just tremendous stuff. He is an amazing talent. He would qualify for the under-22 initiative.
I was just going to say what all AFTN listeners want to know is how old is he?
He's 21. And I know our last Iraqi Ali, things did not go well, but I would hope we could get a work permit for him. But I mean, that's the kind of guy I would love to be looking at. He's exciting. Obviously plays for one of my teams. But yeah, if we can use that to our full potential and have 3 good DPs as well, and if Kubis did move on, then see what happens there.
I haven't watched the player at all, Michael, but it is definitely. It sounds like a great kind of option, but I agree with you, it would probably be hard because of who they'd be up against to try and get him.
Yeah, he is the kind of guy that. It would depend who's coming in for him, and then there's rumours there's some very big teams coming in, some Italian interest and stuff as well. Yeah, you're going to choose that over MLS, especially.
Wait, is Vanni the Italian interest?
You know what? Maybe. Yeah. There's no plans to go beyond 30 teams as of now. That's the standard answer. The league loved the playoff format. I bet they did. All those eyes, all those money.
All those money, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he talked up the Apple TV deal, of course, which was great. Like, their coverage of the league is fantastic. Mm. I just don't know that he gets the eyes on the league that he wants, but he did mention how many eyes across the world were watching Messi games.
I listened to a podcast that I won't name because I don't totally love it. But
you cheating on us?
No, I listen. I'm not on it, Michael. I just listen.
Other podcasts are not available.
It's It's done by, actually, it's not all American, but one of the people who does hosting or whatever is American, and he just straight up said, I have watched so much less of MLS this year. I don't have my pulse on what's going on and where the league is at, and he lives quite close to an MLS side in the eastern United States, and so I think he has a little bit of a better idea what's going on with them. But he's like, the league as a whole, he's like, I hardly watch anything because of it. So it's the exact same thing you've been talking about all along. And he is a dialed in football person who's involved and fully engaged in the football community.
This deal, especially with Messi on board now, is going to have less eyeballs on the league in North America, but way more eyeballs on the league around the world, because millions are tuning in for Messi games that they weren't getting on local TV. So it's how the league want to look at that. Now, talking about Messi, the question all fans have right now is the schedule for MLS comes out on December 20th this year, which is great for planning. Get some trips booked, hopefully, and some nice Boxing Day deals or whatever. But will Messi be coming to insert your hometown here? Will Messi be coming to BC Place? Will he be coming to Vancouver? We'll talk about that in a sec. Let me just play a couple of answers from Don Garber just around that.
We saw that since Messi's arrival, teams that hosted Inter Miami sold out their stadiums, recorded soaring revenues, added sponsors. In short, they took full advantage of the Argentines' presence in the league and during Leagues Cup. This coming season in 2024, how are you prioritizing who's going to host the Pulga and also who's getting advantage to have him at home, their home stadiums?
It's a good question. It's a little bit of an inside story. Obviously we have a competitive format where X number of games within conference are played, and then we have a certain number of games that are played out of conference. You saw some of them, the LAFC game as an example of that. What we try to do is have logic to that, as opposed to picking those games that everyone thinks that are just going to grow the popularity and audience around those particular away matches. We don't think that's fair. We think we need to have some rationale to that. How many times has a team played against Miami? How many times have teams and their fans seen Miami on the road? Looking at that format and then figuring out a way, and you'll see when we announce our schedule, figuring out a way that we can have those 4 or 5 games spread over for X number of teams in 24 and X number of teams in 25, so that as many of our Western Conference teams can see Lionel Messi at home. So the best way to answer that, it's formulaic. It's not sitting around and just using our judgment as to what we think are going to be the best home matches for Messi away games.
We've seen teams start to release their season ticket packages and holiday packages for next year. And, in most cases, the Inter Miami game, it's either not included in those packages or it's separate and more money. At the same time, Inter Miami season tickets, those prices have increased a lot. It makes sense in a lot of ways. Teams are going to want to capitalize on Messi's presence, but is there any concern that maybe the average fan is going to get priced out of the chance to see Messi? And is there anything that can be done about that?
Well, in our business, the concept of selling mini packs that have certain teams that a home fan might want to see and pricing those differently, that variable pricing is the part of pro sports. Every other league does it, so I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be appropriate for Major League Soccer to do that. I think the question as to whether or not fans are being priced out of experiencing Lionel Messi game, I don't believe that's true. In the actual market where teams are selling tickets, those tickets are still reasonable. We can't control what happens on the secondary market, and as you know, the secondary market pricing has been very high. I think it speaks to the unique experience of watching Lionel Messi live. But I know that our tickets are amongst the most affordable in all of professional sports, and I'm pretty proud of that.
So Garber talking about Messi there and what they're wanting to do. So, it's interesting. He said they're trying to have some logic so that as opposed to picking games that everybody thinks are just going to grow the popularity and audience around those particular Miami away matches, we don't think that's fair. We think we need to have some rationale. How many teams has a team played against Miami? So in the Whitecaps' place, never. How many times have teams and their fans seen Miami on the road? Again, from the Whitecaps, never. Says we're looking at that format and figuring out a way, and you'll see when we announce our schedule that we can have those 4 or 5 games spread over an X number of teams in 24 and an X number of teams in 25. So I'm wondering if they're going to announce the Miami games for the next 2 years now.
That seems crazy.
It does, but just the way that he worded that. But I don't know. But he says, so that as many of our Western Conference teams can see Lionel Messi at home.
Oh, okay, sorry. I could see that they'd say, okay, it's not a schedule, but it's like 2024, it'll be these 5 teams. 2025, it'll be these 5 teams. but obviously that doesn't add up because there's more than 10 teams.
Yeah, I mean, it seems odd, but if they're going to do that, you have got to think Messi's coming to Vancouver, or Miami is coming to Vancouver.
I still don't know, Michael. Seattle, yeah. Portland, maybe.
I mean,
San Jose, sure. Big stadium that you can go play at. Sure.
I think that might be the final straw for some folk. If Vancouver got frozen out of that.
Maybe.
I mean, I would be pissed off if he wasn't coming here. Not because, I want to see Messi. I've been fortunate enough to see Messi play. We'll talk in the next part. I might go and see him play next year in Copa America as well. But it's like, if Vancouver is treated like a ginger stepchild in Cascadia and doesn't get one of these games, and I say that as a ginger lad, I'll be very upset.
Yes. And I people in Vancouver would be totally, within their prerogative to be upset at that. But outside of his comments in the last year about, they're owed an all-star game or whatever in Vancouver.
Yeah, I ask him that every time I get a chance to speak to him.
Yeah, I don't think they're.
Do you know what though? That could be a way around it for a Western team that doesn't get Messi.
Mm-hmm.
We'll give you the All-Star game.
Yeah.
In 25, and then you'll have Messi at that. Which, to be honest, I'd rather have that than Miami coming.
Yeah.
At least you're seeing the best players in the league, and there's all the other festivities around it. Which, as much as I hate the All-Star game as a concept, I'm a sucker for all that stuff that goes on around it. Like, skills competitions. And I used to go to the Canucks skills competitions for like 5 years when I first moved here. I love all that shit. Garber was asked if he feels that fans are being priced out of seeing Messi. And he said no. He said the clubs are within their right to charge more to see a player like Messi.
Fair market value, Michael.
Yeah.
Fair market value.
And that other teams around North America in different sports do similar things, which I'm not 100% sure if that is the case, but I know there is different pricing structures.
For different teams, yeah.
I mean, even like I mentioned AFC Wimbledon a few minutes ago, they have a 3-tier pricing plan depending on who's coming to town. And you've got your ticket prices, and West Ham do it as well. It's like Category A, Category B, Category C, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, you do get that. One thing I will say that I don't like hardcore existing fans being gouged.
Yeah.
So, for example, what we talked about weeks ago about Inter Miami season tickets trebling in price. For me, not on. Fan packs, not including an Inter Miami game, I think that's fair.
Yeah, you saw that, right? The Whitecaps did that, right?
It's not just the Whitecaps, it's every single club has come out and said that. And that's fair. Yeah. If you want to guarantee seeing Messi, you buy a season ticket for your team. You support your team. You don't just support Messi. And if you only want to come to BC Place to see Messi, charge them through the nose and raise money for the Whitecaps. That's basically how I look at it.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see if he does come, how that part plays out.
If you're a Whitecaps fan, you should be going to the games. And if you're only going to go to a game that Messi's there, then I'm sorry, but fuck you. I don't care about you. You're not supporting your team. And the Whitecaps should gouge them for every single penny they can get.
There you go.
They say you get more conservative as you get older.
Is that what they say?
Yeah. So last thing, getting back to football. How do you look at MLS right now? Garber said that they're envied by places around Europe because of their facilities and infrastructure. I see that in a way, but probably not. It's still looked down for as a league, I think.
Yeah. I try not to look at MLS as much as possible.
I know.
Folk
do say, I have had folks comment in recent months, few folks saying you're a lot more positive about the Whitecaps now that you don't go to games.
It's true.
Other folks saying, I wish Zach liked the Whitecaps more and liked the MLS more. So you can't win no matter what you
it's
say.
True. Both those things are true. Yeah. So as much as there's things I don't like about MLS, I think on the whole, yeah, they're in a good place.
It's a growing league. It's
aside from the scheduling thing, the one thing that kind of comment there that to me is laughable is the 30 teams. There's no way they're staying at 30 teams. Like it.
Well, you talked up MLS Next Pro and how they were getting into different markets like Carolina and Chattanooga and stuff.
No, that's yeah.
Try to take away from the USL.
They're going to be 32 teams at least by the end of at some point, and I wouldn't put it past them to go way beyond that.
Well,
but they do. The one thing I look forward to the day, even though it'll be likely a closed shop, when they do have their own actual second division.
Yeah,
which I for the betterment of the league itself and the overall structure in the United States, I hope that they do actually live that out. Yeah. As hard and as painful as that will be for teams to get relegated.
For Whitecaps to play Chattanooga. Choo-choo!
But no, seriously, I hope that they do progress away. But the league, the one awkward part about the league is it has this bit of a pyramid scheme feel to it with the massive influx of... Yeah, it does feel like it's just going to be crashing down at some point. Well, yeah, because obviously, maybe in a similar way that Beckham helped in 2007, that Messi helps in 2023 and beyond, or for a period of time. But there's no way that they're going to turn down these massive fees. No, or we could be looking at $1 billion. Oh yeah, by the end of it, and or them potentially maybe even relocating certain teams, which involves massive fees in and of itself. Yeah, I think that could be more likely than mass expansion, but we'll see. One thing Garber wasn't asked, which is the question I wanted to ask, was about goal line technology. But that's brought up. I mean, that's an expenditure that they need to see the value in. Yeah, well, they're getting the money, as you just said, from those fees. But I think MLS is in a really good place just now, and it's the whole game in this country, as we've spoke about before with Canada Soccer, it feels on the precipice of going to the next level. And you've got Copa America here in 2024. You've got the World Cup here on the men's side in 2026. They've just put in the bid, the US and Mexico, for the Women's World Cup in 2027. After that, the Saudis basically take over by the looks of it, and it's going to be Club World Cup and everything in Saudi land. But Garber said this, can't say anything otherwise. The eyes of the world are on North American soccer for the next 3 to 4 years. Mm-hmm. It's very exciting just to play a small part of that and just to see all this and be amongst it. It's going to be amazing. So strap yourself in, enjoy the ride. It's huge for MLS. It's huge for CPL. Yeah, it's huge for Liga MX. It's all the leagues, like CPL, even down to League One. You're going to have folk that want to come to North America as well and take part and play in these leagues. So very exciting stuff. Let us know what your thoughts were from Garber's State of the League. AFTN Canada on Twitter, aftncanada@hotmail.com. With one more part to come. We're going to be turning our attention to the international game, and we'll be bringing you song number 10 in our Festive 15.
Hi, I'm Stephanie LeVay, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
So to speak, my focus is on the cold, cold butter running down your neck and the sweat. Feet touch plus hands.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, number 10 in AFTN's 2023 Festive 15, English band Idols, their single Dancer that came out in October, that will be found on next year's album Tank, which is going to get released in March. And Idols, a band loved for a number of years, never got to see them live yet. They're coming to Vancouver on Friday, May 3rd at the P&E Forum. I've not been able to book my ticket yet because there's every chance that TSS Rovers are going to be playing that night and I will be commentating at the game, so I might have to miss the gig, but there is a chance to maybe go down to Seattle and Portland to see them that weekend, so I'm keeping my options open. But a great single from them there. We'll have 3 more songs in our Festive 15 next show. We're going to talk international football in this part, and we're going to kick things off with the emotional night that was Tuesday, Christine Sinclair's final international game for Canada. She hung up her boots. It was a fantastic night. Over 48,000 fans packed into BC Place.
48,112, I believe, was the number.
As was pointed out by several people, 3 times the Whitecaps' average attendance.
Oh, is that what people said?
Yeah. But this is obviously a special occasion, and you saw the Whitecaps packed the folk in for that playoff game as well. So I don't think the national team, male or female, will be drawing 48,000 fans for every single game that they played here.
There was some awkward comments again. These from people I respect who were like, "Oh, maybe Canada should have started the women's league first." It was like, this is different. This is a special occasion.
Yes.
Like,
you had people that said this was their first ever game.
Yeah.
And they just wanted to, like young girls that said, "I've been so influenced by Christine Sinclair, I wanted to be there on her special night."
And you had people travel from all over the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was special. I was a little sad that it just didn't sell out, just for that fact that it's a sellout, but it was amazing.
It was interesting, like for all those folk in, it was a lot quieter than a Whitecaps game with a lot less people because it's a different audience and it's not the same kind of chanting and stuff. But
I'll tell you,
there was big spells of the game where it was very quiet.
Yeah, but
the game didn't help.
No, but that's partly is having a bunch of people who are not used to being a part of that atmosphere. But I remember back in the day, like some game as much as it was not good in one sense, some game you enjoyed the when there was less people on the ground because you actually, I don't know, the echo was more, so you sounded louder. And then the more people were there, the more there was that white noise, and so you're actually vocal supporting you couldn't hear. But it was an interesting crowd. It made me think of, and this was pre-renovations obviously, but it made me think of the 2007 November Golden Balls friendly, because
I was at that.
Yeah, that was like 43 or 44.
It was initially postponed, and then it played in November. Yeah.
It reminded me of that a little bit in some ways,
because I had just moved there the month before or 2 months before, and there's something happened at that game that I was like, oh, what have I come to? Where they had to keep saying, when the ball comes into the crowd, please throw it back onto the pitch. You cannot keep the ball. And it's like, oh. That didn't happen on Tuesday night, thankfully. But, I mean, it was a great occasion. It was a great night. It was emotional. The pre-game ceremony was lovely. Yeah. But, I mean, even before, like, the warm-up.
Oh, yeah, the top.
Christine Sinclair wearing Sophie Schmidt's number 13.
Well, everyone else was wearing
Sinclair.
Everyone
else wore number 12.
Yeah, that was
now,
pretty
one
awesome.
thing I will say about that, and I spoke to a couple of media about this as well, I really felt for Sophie Schmidt. Obviously, it's Christine Sinclair's big night. And Sophie had said she was retiring and that this was Christine's send-off. Would it not have been nicer, and I know she wanted to probably have it in Vancouver, but to have Friday night as the big Sophie Schmidt game, and then still give her the send-off in this one with Erin as well, but I just felt she was overshadowed. And Christine, being the kind of player that she is and the person that she is, didn't want that to happen, which is why she wore her top.
I think these players all know each other so well that I think they were. I mean, Sinclair she wouldn't have wanted any of it personally.
No,
she knew it needed to be done, or she was brought to a place of understanding it needed to be done. And this, like, yeah, I'm sure that for Sophie it was just like, okay, this is the opportunity, this is what it's going to look like. I'm sure they gave her an option of like, hey, do you want to be a part of this or not? Will this be awkward for you or not?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure Sophie isn't feeling like that. It's just, as an outsider looking in to the camp, it feels like, I kind of feel, because Sophie's been such a good servant to the team, to the programme. But I mean, it was a great... The game itself wasn't great. Australia put out a very strong team. Quinn got the goal. Tifo... I got a lot of play. I know there's various articles about it. Just talk about your experience on the night as a voyageur, being in the stands, just the whole occasion, coming up with the tifo.
It was a special occasion that, you know, everyone wanted to be a part of. People came from all over the country, and it was awesome. Yeah, the V's had section 253, 254, which for Whitecaps home game is the GA section. I don't know, about 6 weeks or so before the match, when things were kind of confirmed, the head of the V's got in touch with some local people about doing a display. They also they took an approach that is not really my favorite, but was, you know, understandable, I guess, in the circumstances, where they did public fundraising for a display, which is a really risky thing, because you're collecting all these people's money. And on some level, now that and it was described as a large tifo, so now there's expectations that it's gonna be something, whatever. Like, you know, you're setting yourself up potentially for failure with that. But anyways,
yeah, I was expecting pulleys. I was expecting a hologram off sync to be projected.
So there was a group of, I don't know, dozen to 15 or so people kind of in an online conversation about what this could look like and what are the options in doing something like this at BC Place. And the overall process, it was a little bit of probably too many cooks in the kitchen. But having said that, I think it was kind of nice, because you had all these people from different supporter stripes, different supporting who support different clubs, and who support, some of them support the same club, but their support is different. And so it was really interesting, this group of people come together and say, okay, what can we do and what's meaningful. And the V's really, what part of what came from the V's was they really wanted to do a tunnel piece. And so the tunnel's only been covered 3 times before BC Place that I'm aware of. And so we kind of talked about that and looked at how that was done before and what could be done. And some of the local people did measuring just to make sure that, you know, we had the right measurements. And it was all these people came together. People raised money. You know, fabric material was bought and paint was bought, and then, you know, all the creating happened, which can be a lot of fun. This project actually was a lot of fun. In the conversation, some people were like, "Oh, could we put her in a maple leaf?" And so then there's a lady named Annie in Toronto who's done a bunch of tifo work and other designing for, you know, merchandise and whatever. And so she was brought into the conversation, and she did some mock-ups, and then it was decided to put that. To try and put that Sinclair in a maple leaf into a Canada flag to give it kind of some cohesion. And then the numbers, the 1 and the 2, obviously her jersey number, and then at the bottom just the words, the greatest of all time. And so there's those 5 pieces. The deployment in general went pretty well, and there's some good shots of the whole thing deployed. But part of the idea was then to see, hey, to try and make more people feel involved in a part of things, is could the overheads, the numbers, the red part of the Canada flag, could they be surfed around the stadium? And it was crazy, because they actually did surf the whole way around the stadium and ended up in the tunnel on the other side, which was kind of fun. And I think it hopefully helped make people feel more involved and engaged with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing, like if a young kid's going to their first game or one of their early games, you remember stuff like that.
Yeah, totally.
That was so much fun. And
I think the display ultimately was meaningful for the people who created and the people in the stadium, and hopefully the players appreciated. And
it was another part of a fantastic night all round. One of the other things I liked at the end, the jerseys or the T-shirts that they were wearing, the 190 goals, which weren't for sale at the stadium.
Yeah, I know
but
you
then,
saw a tweet about that.
As someone pointed out, it's like, did they have a box of 191? Did they have a box of 192? I guess they can't produce them in case you scored on the night.
Did you see the stuff? So the V's are starting a new tradition where they have these paddles made up.
Oh, we were talking about that because we saw paddles and we were trying to work out why was it paddles?
The V's have started a new tradition that will hopefully, every time there's a game, hopefully they're going to try and honor some people from the history of since the V started in 96, 90 something. Anyways, in the 90s. So these are the first three. Actually, there's a fourth paddle that's already been made and will hopefully be given to a player later. You can guess who that is, but anyways, on the paddle it has their name and whatever, and the Voyageurs logo and whatever. And then these players were also given. Well, McLeod and Schmidt were given shirts. So I don't know if you saw Schmidt said "Holy Schmidt" on it.
No, we were all ushered out by this. Yeah, okay. We weren't allowed to be. We were in the area for a bit, and then they made us leave.
Sophie had a shirt that said "Holy Schmidt," and then McLeod had a picture of her with the Canada flag or whatever Mohawk thing, but underneath it said something along the lines of "That wasn't 6 seconds." And then they gave Sinclair one of these jackets. I don't know if you've ever seen the jacket that Jamie often wears to games. It's a red anyways. It looks like a lumber jacket, but it's actually a jacket. So they gave Sinclair one of those with some stuff embroidered on it, and yeah, it was a fun way to end the night. And
well, I'm glad you've explained about the paddles because I had my theory.
I can send you pictures of it if you want.
Yeah, I didn't see any pictures of it, but I thought it was because you're saying to Canada Soccer, you're up shit creek without a paddle. Here's 3 of them.
Oh, Michael. Yeah, that's an interesting way to think about that. But no, it's a new tradition. Massive thanks to everyone. I won't name them all. I think there's a
please don't. We're already hitting a 3-hour show.
There's a Voyageurs newsletter coming out that I think mentions all the people kind of who were involved in helping both create and deploy some of the get things going in the deployment and stuff. So check that out. I don't know if that's going to be, well, if you're a V, I think it gets emailed to you, but they'll probably post it on the website or something. But no, there were so many people who. So thank you to the people who fundraised. Thank you to people who designed and came up with the concept and all that kind of stuff. And then also the people who created and deployed and just made it all possible.
Good night all round. Obviously got the scoreline as well and another clean sheet, which is important as the team moves into 2024.
It was. I know the game wasn't like crazy exciting, but I think for Bev Priestman, considering all the emotions and whatever, and considering the drastic improvement in terms of the squad that was on the pitch for Australia, I think she has to be really happy with these 2 games.
Well, she was. I mean, she said afterwards, we'll hear a little bit from Bev in a sec, that she felt it was a good balance in sending people off the right way whilst also looking to the future. Yeah. And the clean sheet is particularly... or the 2 clean sheets is particularly what pleased her. So in fact, let's just hear a little bit just now from Bev Priestman, just what she's taken from these 2 games into 2024, another big year with the Olympics coming and the chance to defend her gold.
Bev, a lot has been made of the offensive side of the formation, all the goals, but like you mentioned, 3 straight clean sheets, 2 goals conceded in the last 6. How important is it for you and the team to see that this aggressive formation can also yield defensive results as much as offensive ones?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the formation, but I also think we've got back to the behaviours, no matter what the formation, when the ball's given away, being really aggressive to win it back. It was our DNA, it always has been, and I think, reflecting on the World Cup with a lot of things going on, I think in many ways we lost our way in that sense, and it's back. I mean, you can see it, you can feel it. The mindset to defend is there, and it's led by, you know, I used the example today, Sophie Schmidt, I remember in the Victoria game, makes a 50-yard recovery run, and by the way, she's just got out of a car from travelling across country and she could still do it. So I think, yeah, it's in the DNA, and we need, it's a massive part. How we defend is how we attack, because I think it gives us intensity in attack and in defending, and we celebrate clean sheets just like we do goals.
Further on to Alex's question, with that in mind, and now that the field for the Women's Olympic football tournament is starting to take shape, especially with teams in Europe qualifying, how important is building that way, wanting to play, fit to the kind of opposition you're going to be facing and the qualities you'll be up against?
Yeah, and I think that's been great for us. You know, we played Jamaica, more of a 4-4-2 block. Then we played Brazil, who matched us up in our shape, and then we've played Australia today, who are at the block, but with a jumping winger. So we're getting exposure to different shapes and problems, and I think that's going to be critical. If I remember going into Tokyo, we got a similar exposure in a shape that we were learning, and that'll be our planning now between now and the Olympic Games, is to get exposure to as much different problems as we can. So no matter who we face in big moments, we can pick that up and go and apply that. But very much, these windows have been about building. I feel like we're building. I've got to see faces this window. Young players have come in, done very well, and some people are just continuing to deliver against top teams, and I think really starting to secure some things. So yeah, overall I can't be any happier that I got a good balance of sending people off in the right way and looking towards the future, and I think we're in a great space to head in 2024. I said to the players today, when you're eating your Christmas dinner or in your holiday dinner, we've had a tough year, a very, very tough year, and what matters the most is actually how much we've reapplied ourselves, got back up. I talked about the qualities of Sophie and Sink. They've had moments, dead last in the World Cup, that bronze medal match that they had to get up for in 2012, all those moments, it makes you tough, and I think those qualities are really, really important in this bounce back, and I've seen that in the group. It's been a turn, and we're on it, and we're ready for 2024.
Bev, obviously tonight was an iconic night for Vancouver River Canada, send off of two legends. But after tonight, what is the mindset for yourself and for the team going into 2024, starting as soon as January?
Yeah, I think, listen, firstly, Vancouver's my home, and put on an incredible show. I think that's the first thing. It was unbelievable. Couldn't have asked for anything better. And then our mindset, I think people need a bit of staff. We had a very quick turnaround from that World Cup, and it's been non-stop since, in a good way. Exactly what we wanted was to fill every FIFA window. But I think to take the time to stop, reflect, get some learnings together, to hit the ground running in 2024. It's going to be a massive year, starting with the Gold Cup, but then the Olympic Games. We know how dear that is to this team's heart, so it'll be turning up ready come January to go again.
This might be a quick one, but right before the game, someone put out a report that you put your name in for the Montreal job. Just wondering if you're able to comment on that.
Yeah, that Maury actually told me about that. That's not true. I think I absolutely love this team, and I'm actually trying to commit myself to the future for the 2027 World Cup. Moments like tonight only remind you how special the people are in this team, not just as footballers, and I absolutely love them, so it's not true.
Bev Priestman there, just talk about what she's taken from these two games. Happy with scoring, happy with the clean sheets. She feels very comfortable and happy heading into 2024. She talked about what a tough year this has been, and it's been such a busy year and a long year, but that they wanted to make sure that they had games in all these windows to get ready, and there'll be some games in preparation. They've got the CONCACAF Women's Gold Cup coming up in February. They've got the Olympics as well in the summer. The She Believes Cup, I believe, is also going to be happening again, but probably getting pushed back a bit later in the year than usual. The last question in the audio that I played there was, I don't know if you had seen this before the game, Zach, but rumours were coming out of Montreal that Bev Priestman had
I saw that. Yeah.
in the mix for the CF Montreal job, and she was asked about it, and she's like, no truth in it whatsoever, and she's actually looking to get extended to take her through to the 2027 World Cup. Good night all round for Bev. Everything was good. Project 8, we're talking Diana Matheson was on the TSN broadcast. So she's hoping a big bulk of these 48,000 fans will come out and watch the new league. Again, as I always say, it's a different crowd for international games to league games, and this is a special occasion. But if you can capture a good percentage of these fans, then the league would be in a healthy state. She mentioned that Project 8 planned to announce the league's name in the first half of the year, and that 2 more teams will be confirmed by February, with expectations that all team rights could be sold by February, March next year. She was asked about Ryan Reynolds and could he be somebody that would invest in the league. And it was just how she reacted to that. My initial thought was, you've been talking to Ryan Reynolds.
Mm-hmm.
But then she kind of went away and went, well, it's still time if he wants to get involved, but he'll need to do it quick. But she was really caught off guard, it felt.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if he is going to be an investor in this league.
That would be interesting.
They need folk like that to come in with money, so we'll see. Sticking on Canadian soccer, the nominees came out. Canada Soccer announced their Player of the Year nominations for the annual Player Awards. Media can vote a top 3 from a short list, and you've got to get your votes in, I think, by Tuesday or Wednesday this week. On the men's side, the nominees are Tejan Buchanan, Jonathan David, Alphonso Davies, Stefan Estacio, Alistair Johnston, Ishmael Kone, Kyle Larin, Richie Larea and Kamal Miller. For me, my top 3, I think Fonzie's going to get it because there's so many media that's like, Alphonso Davies.
Yeah.
Who would you have third?
Well, my third, actually, I'm a little torn between...
Yeah, I am actually in the third as well.
So I'm going not by name. I'm going by... I think my standard is going to be a little different. I'm keeping Alphonso out of it. I'm keeping Jonathan David out of it. I think my third... I'm torn between Alistair Johnston and Tejan Buchanan.
See, I've gone for Tejan Buchanan, but that's number because 3? I've gone for Alistair Johnston as number 2.
Okay. My number 2, so yours is Johnston. My number 2 is Ishmael Kone.
He just missed my top 3. It was a toss-up with Kone and Buchanan for me.
And number 1, are we both going with Estacio?
Yeah. I think it has to be.
Yeah.
He's had such a great season with Porto. He's done well with Canada. I mean, it's surely got to be him.
You also saw the number one thing I would still probably say is John Herdman's comments about Croatia, but one of the undoings of the World Cup was Estacio not being fully fit to play Croatia, right? I went back. I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but one of the awful things about PVRing things is they have a time limit where they go away. So all my World Cup games from last year. I'm not on Telus at this moment. Anyways, I don't know if it's matter who you're with. I think it's the company like TSN or whatever. Really? No?
Well, see, I don't know about sport. I've had movies and stuff on my PVR for years.
Oh yeah, this I don't know about movies. I'm just talking. So the World Cup, all the games after 1 year they start to come off. So I tried to watch some games from Doha that either I was at that I wanted to see from the TV angles or games I wasn't at. And I only got to watch a few of them because I haven't had time. But one of the ones I did watch was Canada-Croatia at the Khalifa. And, man, we were so good for about 35 minutes.
Yeah.
In that game. And one of the things that was huge was Estacio. And one of the things that let us down was Estacio's injury. And also, how do I say this kindly? Because it's someone I love and respect. Atiba having lost a step or two, all right, like
and
that
being punished.
Yeah, we were punished for severely. I mean, 2 of the goals I think came as a result of that. But yeah, I think anyways, the Estacio to me, is
I haven't watched that back actually since the World Cup. That particular game, Canada Soccer Women's National Team nominees.
Yes, let's
they
go there.
are Kadisha Buchanan, Jessie Fleming, Vanessa Gilles, Chloe Lacasse, Ashley Lawrence, Adriana Leon, Nichelle Prince, Jade Rose, and Kaylin Sheridan, also known as Buddy the Elf.
Oh yeah, that
was
she was so good.
Amazing.
She was so good.
I was hoping I could get a chance to ask her about that after the match, but oh wow, she was fantastic in that.
Okay, this is gonna be interesting.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me.
Okay, I know who my number one is.
Who's your number one?
No, I don't want to tell you. Let's go 3-2.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do those other ones because I might have some of the playing time wrong for some of these.
I've got 2 and 1. It's my third that I'm really kind of struggling with. I'll
do what I did last time. I'll have 2 for 3. Okay, so my number 3.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with and again, the people who watched these matches closer than I have think I'm crazy. That's okay. Please forgive me. Please be gracious. I'm going to go with my 3. I'm going to go with a tie between Vanessa Gilles and Jessie Fleming.
I've got Jessie Fleming or Chloe Lacasse as my.
That's your number 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, who's your number 2?
Well, I'll tell you my 2 and my 1. It's like Ashley Lawrence and Kadisha Buchanan.
Okay.
I've probably gone with Buchanan 2 and Lawrence 1.
I have Lawrence 2, and I actually have Chloe Lacasse. Chloe Lacasse is number 1. I think again, this isn't limited viewing and highlights and whatever. I think what she did for Benfica was huge, and to get the move she did was huge. I think
I never saw her play for Benfica at all.
I've only seen some highlights. I think she was one of the players who was unfortunately underused at the World Cup. I think you got to see glimpses of her in these Australia friendlies and was the Brazil friendlies. And I there's so much upside. I think that the move that she's made, I think she's done well, and that's just who I would vote.
Interesting.
But I might be wrong. People might be yelling at their
they're probably
phones
yelling
right now,
at mine as well.
Saying whatever, it's Jill or Fleming or whatever or better or see Buchanan. Buchanan. Does Buchanan start? She left Lyon because she wasn't starting, right? Did she start every game for Chelsea? That's what I forgot to check that.
I don't know. I've not watched tons of the WSL this year.
Anyways, let us know what you think. Who's your 3-2-1?
Yeah.
Tweet at Michael. He loves it.
I do. They'll be getting announced before Christmas anyway. Last bit of international chat. The Copa America draw was done. Now, I PVR'd it. I completely forgot it was on. And then I saw so many folk saying, this draw has been an hour and nothing's happened yet. And I was like, oh, I'll just look to see what the draw was. I cannot be bothered watching this then. So I just basically looked it up. And it's Canada, if they get through. How shit is it as well? You've got a draw and it's like playoff winner as opposed to having Canada's name in there.
Oh, like Canada or Trinidad and Tobago?
Yeah. But didn't even say that. I just said playoff winner.
Well, the World Cup did that too. They're like,
I know, but
winner one.
Oh no, it's not them wording it like that. It's the fact that Canada's not in the actual draw.
Yeah.
By right now, is what I'm meaning. It's like you wanted to see Canada. You wanted a ball picked out that had Canada on it, which I believe once I get my citizenship, that's what I have to get a tattoo, something like that. But Canada in a group with Argentina, Peru, and Chile. They play Messi and Co. in Atlanta. They play Peru in Kansas City. And they play Chile in Orlando. If we get there. Which I think is still a big if.
Well, I think you think that because they don't have to beat just one country.
Exactly.
Two countries, you always like
two countries are up against. And that's going to be tough for them. I mean, they struggled against Jamaica.
Of their own accord.
Yeah, talking of Jamaica, I saw there was a Caribbean party. Your wife was at a Caribbean party.
Oh no! Yeah,
we were all wearing Jamaica T-shirts, and I was going to leave a message on her Instagram going, "Did you wear that off your own accord?" And I thought she might not have any idea.
No, okay.
What that is.
Here's the deal. So my wife's staff Christmas party this year was Caribbean themed.
Caribbean.
Yeah, that too. And so her and a few of her friends from work, they made up Jamaica bobsled team T-shirts, Cool Runnings.
Yeah.
And so the four of them, they made these shirts and they took pictures with them and whatever. But yeah, it was like jerk chicken and whatever.
I was stunned when Justin Trudeau turned up. He seemed to misunderstand what was going on, but.
No, sorry, yeah, no, that was was that Thursday night? I think it was Thursday night. Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't leave that comment now.
No, she would have been like,
block.
She would have been like the guy from the podcast posted on my thing. Do you know what this means?
You'd be like, you don't want to know. Don't listen.
Well, my poor family. At least they mostly sleep through all this.
Yeah, Caitlin's fast asleep still. She did wake up at some point during this long recording. I'm disappointed in the venues for Copa. I was hoping for something closer.
I was surprised. I know it's not the biggest of grounds, but I'm a little surprised Seattle's not.
Yeah,
a part of it.
I'm surprised Argentina's not in Florida at least for they are, I guess, for some of the games, but. It's like, I thought they would have made it Argentina was in Florida for all three of their matches. But I am tempted to go to Atlanta. Partly to see Messi play Argentina. That would be amazing. I'd like to see Atlanta's
You want to see
stadium.
Messi play Argentina? I want to see Messi play Argentina.
Sorry, yeah. I'm thinking of the Canadian Messi.
Yeah.
Ryan Gold. He'll be qualified. He'll be eligible, but then why not? I don't know. It's Copa anything goes probably. Well, they're letting Canada into Copa America, so just let Ryan Gold in as well. But that would be a fun game. You've been to Atlanta. You were telling me you were there for the Olympics.
I was there in '96 for the Olympics.
You were in the hammer competition. You said.
No.
Shot put.
No.
Tug of war?
I only watched. I can't even remember what I watched now. Not football, unfortunately. I wish I could have watched the football.
I noticed for the Paris World Cup this year, because normally to get media accreditation for the Olympics, you have to have this membership and it's all through your IOC governing body that approves, blah, blah, blah. But they're doing a soccer-specific media for the Paris Olympics. I was like, oh, that'd be interesting for 28 in LA.
I was actually the one thing I remember from being at Atlanta. I was there when there's been a movie about this or whatever. When that bomb went off.
Oh,
I was in the suburbs and
driving away from your misdeeds.
No. I'll tell you. It's a longer story. I'll tell you the story.
Yeah, let's not on
the podcast. But no. I remember that well.
Well, that is it for our football chat, but it's not it for the show, even though you wish it was. We've got this episode's wavelength, and tying in with the Copa draw, I've gone with a song that is Maradona Argentina related. It's from a band that we've played before. They are from out of London. They're called Sir Robert Orange Peel. And this is a song from their 2021 album, Gordon Bennett. They're a London-based instrumental band, but they use samples. And I love these kind of songs where it's got a beat to it and it's sampling commentary or
I know
players
you love
talking.
These. Yeah.
Oh, I have so many of them that I have never played in Wavelength. I think you'll enjoy this one. It's a song called A Soccer Ball is Worth More Than 100 Rifles. And it stems from a comment that Maradona told Vatican Radio, bizarre in itself, where he said, I think we all feel something in our hearts when we see wars, when we see the dead. I think this match will put to rest the notion that we soccer players don't do anything for peace. A soccer ball is worth more than 100 rifles. And concerning everything that is going on in the world just now, I think that's a beautiful sentiment. Here's Sir Robert Orange Peel. A soccer ball is worth more than 100 rifles. Sir Robert Orange Peel there. As I said, I love these kind of songs, and they've got a couple of football-related albums worth of them. We've played a couple already. We'll have more of them to come. That is it for Wavelength. Pretty much it for the show. Any final thoughts from you, Zach? Any fun things caught your eye this week?
Looking forward to, now there's all the North American football's over. The international stuff's over. This next week for me is actually quite crazy busy. So I'm looking forward to, I don't know, once the 21st comes, then I'm looking forward to a lot of nice family time.
And recording our Christmas special. My way to end the show, continuing the women's soccer theme that we've had in part. Did you see what happened in the UEFA Nations League on the women's side?
Does it have to do with Scotland?
Yeah.
Then no.
Right. Well.
Sorry. Tell me more.
It's the last round of games. In a group, there is Scotland, England, Belgium,
Oh, I think I did hear
Holland.
about this. Actually, yeah, I did hear about this.
England had to thump Scotland to get through, but also book their place at the Olympics. Now, playing into that is the fact that it's a Team GB at the Olympics, so Scotland players can be in it. So the Dutch weren't happy, and they said that Scotland would just lay down for them. And the Scottish girls were so offended at that thought. So they let 6 goals in on Tuesday night. You would have thought that would have been enough. England just had to score, I think it was 3 more goals than Holland did. So going into stoppage time, England were in the Olympics. Holland were out. Holland scored 2 stoppage time goals, including a 95th minute winner, because their game, second half, miraculously didn't start at the same time as the England game. It got a slight delay, so they knew exactly what they had to do. England are out. Team GB's not in the Olympics, and I'm delighted for it because I think it was a horrible situation, and for UEFA to even create that by putting Scotland and England in the same group was just ridiculous.
Yeah, with those kind of ramifications, those things on the line, it felt really, really awkward that they would allow that to happen. And it's reminiscent of, was it the 82 World Cup?
Algeria, Germany, as I like to bring up to Axel all the time.
Yeah. Or you just need a draw, let's play for the draw.
Yeah, there's been a couple of other kind of similar games, but I mean, this was shocking. But for Scotland to say we're not laying down and then they'll give up 6 goals, it's like, it's really hard to put your case forward. I will say, though, England were good and Scotland were absolute shit in the game, but
yeah,
they were just completely outplayed because they're just not at that level.
I did hear about that this week.
Yeah, crazy stuff. But that is it for the show. Hope you've enjoyed it. It's been another long one, but we've covered a lot, and it'll get you through this week as we build up to Christmas. Go get yourself an eggnog muffin, sit back and enjoy it all. We'll be back with another episode soon. Until then, thanks for listening. Take care, mon the Caps, and allez la Rouge.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
AFTN